This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to a cloudy eastern front. Live here in Djuma Private Game Reserve, where the sun is beating down from the west. It is a very warm afternoon, and we are out and about in the heat of the day to see if we can find you some wonderful animals. It's probably going to have a good chance with elephants and maybe a couple of birds, but I think it's a bit hot for most of the others. But we are going to be out and about. It is a wonderful afternoon to be out and about. We're going to be going from shady spot to shady spot, and good news, our vehicle has been fixed, so Lauren will be out and about. 2 vehicles on Djuma this afternoon. Deirdre will be out and about looking for some cheetah in Tswalu. Ngala will have Tessa, no doubt, looking for the Birmingham Pride. And Angus is out in andBeyond Phinda, also, I think, looking for some cheetah. And on that note, we welcome you on board our live African safari. Welcome on board my vehicle, where it is, as I said before, very warm. My name is Steve, joined by Sebastian and Bless as well this afternoon, and excited to be with us on board. As always, please send your questions and comments using the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter, or phone in on the YouTube chat stream. If you are younger than 18 years old, please use the all-important email address, kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. Which you should all know quite well now. It is a very warm, what does it say? Probably about 400 degrees. I'm only joking. Sorry, it's 29, I don't believe it. 29 degrees, 84 degrees Fahrenheit, but it feels a lot warmer than that. The humidity is extremely warm, but that is what happens. We get these very, very warm, humid days after lots of rain. And the reason why we get so much rain and thunderstorms is because of these hot, hot days. The sun angling directly down heats the ground, and any moisture, which there is moisture, we had a little bit of water damage to the CPU units on the other vehicle. So from the moisture, of course, so lots of moisture, which causes more evaporation, more transpiration from the plants, which leads to more humidity in the air. It's not dry heat at all. October's lovely this time of this part of the world because it's a dry heat. Orlando, I'm not sure exactly what the name was there, but it is wonderful to have both of the ladies out and about. And I know secretly though, everybody, Lauren's been dying to take over Wendy, so she's now back on her. And I don't think I'm going to be able to get it off, to be fair. I think that's the truth, they said.
Oh, yeah, she's stuck on rest, you know.
There's no ways I'll be getting her off there anyway, so she's quite excited. Although I don't think she's feeling 100% still this afternoon, but she's excited to be out and about on the property, driving about. So we are going to go slowly up onto our north sort of some lion cubs found yesterday on Bufosuk that we wouldn't mind trying to follow up on. But it seems like I'm having some gremlins right now. And a rattling testicular over to my right-hand side is shouting. It's the one and only bird we really hear at this time of day, together with maybe the emerald spotted wood dove. He's jumping around in there. Yeah, you can probably hear him. Okay, well, as I said, it's very, very warm. Let's just go and see exactly how much.
Good afternoon, everyone, and yes, This is not the dam cam, believe it or not. Wendy is back up and running and I am over the moon. Wendeline is my favourite car and she's out of hospital. I don't think she's quite 100% well like myself. We're both a little bit under the weather. But my name is Lauren and I do have Lance on camera with me today. And I'm still hiding my swollen face from you all. I don't want to give you all nightmares. So, welcome back, Wendeline. It's good to be out on this very hot sunny day. And we're just admiring the kudu over here and the Impala. It's a male Impala ram hanging out with some kudu ladies. It's always nice when you see a bit of a mixture of antelope. And of course, quarantine is the best place for that. It's the best place to start. Herbivores are no threat to one another. They're not hanging out with each other, as I implied there. They're just using the same area, they're just grazing, and of course, they can all benefit from one another. If you immerse yourself in a larger herd, then you've got less a chance of being eaten yourself. You can hide away, and it dilutes your presence, which is exactly why you find them all together. And Impala, of course, are very, very vocal. And that means that all the other antelopes in the area really can utilize that. They know once they hear that snort from an Impala, something's wrong. Something is not right, and we must also be on very, very high alert. Danger is nearby. Now, I don't have many plans for today. I think watering holes is a great place to start. And of course, once it gets a little bit cooler, I will head to the hyena den, just in case many of you did not guess that already. But before this is my better side. So before I forget, the poll for Junebug's name is very much still running. Please, please, please do vote. We're giving you a choice of 3 names and every vote counts. So please head over to Twitter and let us know what you would like Junebug to be named. She'll still be the little Junebug, but I think it's very nice for her to have an official name along the way. But I think it's far too hot for the hyenas right now. Although there is a nice breeze, but we will head to Treehouse Dam, see if we can spot some ellies, maybe go to Chitwa, see if we can spot any signs of maribs, and then a little bit later we'll head to the hyena den. Break up there. You can go with that one more time. Oh, look at that! The fastest animal in the bush. We have a leopard tortoise. This is a leopard tortoise, not a speaxed hinge. They are much smaller. This is a leopard tortoise, and you can see the really, really dome-shaped carapace, and it's actually moving very fast. Oh my goodness, imagine if it climbs this termite mound. What a feat. That would be like us going for a mountain climb. It's been a while since I've seen a tortoise. I wonder if we could get better views. Oh no, he's on the move, he's on the move. Okay, yeah, let's try. We may even be able to see if it's male or female by getting a good look at the back of that carapace. I think he's going to climb this termite mound. This is going to be remarkable to watch this happen live here in Djuma Game Reserve. Now, the best way to tell if it's male or female really is the underside. So the top side is your carapace and the underside, that's your plastron. Now, they're both connected. It's a specialized sort of adaptation of the rib cage, if you like, and all the organs are housed inside. Now, when you look at the male's plastron, it's always curved, very curved, because of course they mount the females during mating. Oh my goodness. This is a tortoise on a mission. Christine, yes, this tortoise is moving fast. We're actually just about to lose sight of him. Stigmocheles pardalis. I love that Latin name. It refers to the fact it's a patterned turtle that looks like a leopard. Just in case any of you are not sure, you don't know Latin, that's exactly what it means. Okay, so we're going to continue bumbling south, see what we can find for you all today. And for now, we're going to send you down to Tswalu to say good afternoon.
Good afternoon and welcome to Tswalu. I'm in the Kalahari sunflowers here in the shady spot. I am Deirdre, and on camera with me this afternoon is Morgan. We don't really have too much of a plan. We're trying to follow up on a female cheetah with 3 cubs, but as you can see, I'm waist deep in sour grass and a mother with 3 little cheetah cubs. This is quite challenging for us to find her. So we are going to rely on some help from some of the trackers to see if they are able to give us a hand this afternoon and find her to show you at a later stage. But don't forget to send your questions via hashtag WildEarth and put at FC in front of the question if you'd like to engage with us on safari. But what a beautiful afternoon. We're just going to pretty much start doing the blocks. Lee's asking how long can the sour grass get? It's pretty much at its maximum peak at the moment. It they're already complete, and some of them are already starting to fall off. So this is the average height of sour grass at its full height. So it's not growing anymore. It is already at the stage where it's mature, and the inflorescence are already being pollinated, and some of them are being distributed by all the animals. Quite a lot of them get knocked off by the animals when they dry, and that's one of the ways of animals doing seed dispersal. Let's head on further down the road and see. The last few days we've done a driving segment or 2. We found surprise animals along the way. So always worth just checking what's happening. So stick with us. We're going around the block at this stage to see what else we can find. But yeah, in grass like this, most of the animals now at this time, because of the heat, will be in the shade. So that's exactly where we're looking. Where I popped out there, going in there, I did think to myself, oh, what happens if there's something lying here in this thicket? But luckily I made enough noise getting there that anything would have jumped out and run away. But those are the ideal places for animals to be lying at this time because of the heat. So as we said, we're going to just keep going around the block. So we've already done the block from the south to the north. Oh wow, it sounds like Tess has got a good update for you. We're going to send you there.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to andBeyond Ngala. I am sitting with the white male of the Birmingham Pride, and he's actually looking a bit more active now than he was this morning. He's looking up, he keeps grooming, and I think he's enjoying a little bit of peace and quiet in this beautiful long grass at the moment. I've actually noticed he's covered in injuries. We noticed the other day on a post near the Orpin camp that he's probably been attacked by some more lions. My name is Tessa. I'm going to be your guide on safari this afternoon here at andBeyond Ngala. Behind the camera we have Owen, and I'm definitely going to spend as much time as I can today with this white male of the Birmingham Pride. So I've noticed as I've been looking at him, he's got quite a lot of fresh wounds. You can see there on his head. He's actually also got a clean hole between his shoulder blades, one on his side, one on each back leg. And he's limping quite badly as well. And so what we think happened is based on all of these scars and being a young male, which is the most difficult time for a lion, he might have been attacked by another pride of lions, possibly being in the east, maybe the Mbiri pride. And somehow he got separated from the rest of the Birmingham sub-adults and the pride. He might have even separated himself and then run into the other lions. And of course, being white, you can see how well he stands out. And so he wouldn't exactly be able to hide so easily from other lions either. But at the moment, he is looking quite nice and calm. Every now and then he starts licking his wounds and then he sleeps for a bit. There, he looks like he's wanting to lick a few. So the wounds look incredibly fresh, so I'm thinking maybe in the last few days only he was attacked. But it's the first time that I have seen him in almost 3 weeks now. So I am incredibly excited to be here. Oh, look at that eye color. Andrew, this white male is just under 3 years old at the moment. And he is absolutely stunning. You can see the start of his mane there. So anywhere from around 8 months, you can start seeing a lion's mane. His is already starting to fill out. So he is getting incredibly big. His body size as well, compared to some of the other males of the same age in the Birmingham Pride, is quite a bit larger. And he is definitely my favorite male lion at the moment. Although the Birmingham young male that's around 4 years old, he's a very close second. So I'm definitely going to sit here for a while, especially now that the sun's come out. I think he's going to move into the shade. So I'm going to watch and see how he's moving and spend a bit more time with him.
Do you dream of traveling to a far-flung wilderness location where life continues as normal? A place where you can escape to nature and breathe. If you become a WildEarth explorer, then this could soon become a reality. Subscribe today and stand a chance to win regular travel prizes. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
Sometimes love wants to make you sing. And sometimes love wants to make you bow and fan your wings to your bow. For the southern yellow-billed hornbill, these are signs that love is in the air. These birds are destined for a season of monogamy at least. Breeding pairs are in it for the survival of their chicks. But before love commences, the male needs to woo his valentine with food in the form of nuptial gifts.
I'm Nikki here at andBeyond in Ngala in South Africa. I love getting questions from viewers about all the small things within the environment and how it all is integrated with one another. If you want to ask me any questions, please simply register with the WildEarth website, head across to the Live Safari page and then post your questions there. I'm looking forward to chatting to you on my next WildEarth drive.
Guys, have a look at what we've got. This is better than my birthday. Look at that. This is the first time that I ever see cubs this small. This is so special. This has officially just become my best sighting of all times.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
Hi, I'm Kyle, and I come to you live every day here from Tswalu Kalahari in South Africa. My favorite animal in the Kalahari has to be the aardvark. Its unique appearance, its ethology, and as well as ecology within this vast ecosystem is amazing, and something that I have been really lucky to experience on foot here at Tswalu.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
dragonfly for y'all, but sadly it flew off. I'm determined to get to know the dragonfly species a little bit better, but we're almost at Treehouse Dam, so maybe we can stop there and have a little look and see what's around. Water bodies are fantastic areas to just sit in the shade and enjoy watching the activity of the dragonflies. I think it was a deceptive widow, but I'm not sure we get that species here. It looked like it, but maybe all you dragonfly experts out there can tell me if deceptive widows are a common species that we see here. I was really hoping to see some elephants at the dam. Was that some question? Okay, I've got no comms. This is a little bit tricky. Let's try one more time, Gwen, but something is wrong. Victor, I guess so, yes. Everything improves with practice. So absolutely, of course, it gets easier to track animals. And it's not necessarily just the tracking skills as well. It's learning the animal movements. And what we're really lucky with here is learning the individual animal sort of patterns. So it's not just the patterns of a leopard that we become familiar with. We actually become really familiar with the individuals. For example, Tingana's movements, Tlalamba's movements, Shidulu's movements. We get really used to knowing exactly where these animals move. So of course, over time, that's definitely improved. Now, this is normally a really, really good spot for dragonflies, just here in the ants, but I don't see any. Give me a minute. This is normally where we spot many. I see you guys. Okay, we have one at about 2 o'clock. Do you see it? It's just on the little branch here. It's a red one. Oh, no. They're fluttering around everywhere today. I don't quite know how to describe this to you. Oh, there you go. You've got it just here. If you look at the monitor, that's it. Perfect. I think it could be a male barbet percher. We always find the barbet perchers here in this specific area. The male and females look really different. The males have got that red thorax. It's immediately how you know it's a male. The females are more yellow. I knew if we just sat here for long enough, we would find one. Isn't he beautiful? Now, the dragonflies used to be far bigger than they are today. They used to roam the skies at incredible sizes. Almost up to a meter, you would find a dragonfly flying through the skies. Now, that actually sounds pretty scary to me. A meter is, well, that's 3 feet. That's a big insect roaming the skies. But of course, as time's gone on, this was a very, very long time ago. They've got smaller and smaller and smaller. And there's lots of theories for that. Excuse my speech today, it's not the best. So arthropods in general is a phylum that insects belong to, and they appeared during the Cambrian period, which is more than 520 million years ago. And during this time, long, long ago, there was a higher percentage of oxygen in the atmosphere. Now the percentage is much, much less. So because insects have a completely different breathing system from us, they don't have lungs, they have a tracheal system. It's like lots and lots of little straws running down the side of their body where they have to sort of pull in oxygen. Not really pull it in, it's coming in through a gas exchange, through diffusion. It's going from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration. And it comes in all the way through these tiny, tiny little tubes. and that's how they get air. It's not lungs, and it's called the tracheosystem. So back then, in the sort of Cambrian period, the percentage of oxygen was far more plentiful in the atmosphere. So as it's reduced down to 21% like we have today, it's a lot more difficult for insects to pull in the oxygen and get oxygen into their body through that gas exchange. So that's one of the theories why insects have become smaller and smaller over the many, many millions of years. And being small isn't a bad thing, at least from an evolutionary point of view. It minimizes the resources needed for survival, I guess. And it allows insects to make use of micro, tiny little habitats. Oh, we got a monitor lizard, I think. Yes. Right over here, Lance. He's swimming. A water monitor. I think he's just going to go behind the vegetation here. We've lost him. He's going to pop out, though. Or maybe he's not going to pop out. I can't see where he's gone now, I'm afraid. Thomas, we get the rock monitor and the water monitor out here in the low veld. But there's many species of monitor lizard across the world, and even the Komodo dragon is a monitor lizard, believe it or not. It's a large family, but out here in this area we either see the rock monitor or the water monitor, and sometimes the water monitor is called the Nile monitor. It's got different names, but that's the two that we see here. Oh, I can see him. He's coming. There we go. You see him between the gap there of the vegetation? There we go. They're the longest monitor lizard that we get here, so they sort of win the title for the largest. But the rock monitor are far more heavier bodied, if you like. They've got a larger skull, just a more cumbersome body. Look at that. Isn't that lovely? Oh, I want to jump in that water right now. Daniel, they move like crocodiles through the water. They use their tail to propel them. Exactly what a crocodile does. They're closely related to crocodiles in that they're both reptiles, not too far, sort of distantly related to one another. And they've got really, really sharp claws which give them traction on land. So that doesn't make them good swimmers. They've not got fins or sort of flippers. It's the tail, that really, really powerful tail that propels them through the water. Okay, let me see if I can just roll here and get another view of them. Nope, we're not rolling. Okay, I don't think we're going to get another view, but we are going to send you across to Steve with an antelope.
Welcome to Buffelshoek, everybody. Welcome to an area known as Triple Pan, or three in a row pan as well. I suppose they both mean the same thing. Where I have come to investigate the presence of some more lesser moorhens, as well as potential African crake, which is a little aquatic bird that I have not seen before. And I was told the other day that they were seen here. It might be a bit early in the day, but as you can see, the Impala is getting a little bit of a grooming session in the shade. It is an afternoon for shade, so we are going to be bumbling from shade to shade, looking for little items of interest. There's definitely some storms brewing in the distance, and a beautiful afternoon when it's hot and sticky like it has been. You can always expect there to be some rain somewhere. Definitely some clouds building. And above the tree there, you might notice it's not styrofoam balls, everybody. Those are the nests of grey tree frogs, or foam nest frogs, as the obvious name implies. Before laying eggs, they kick their legs together, producing this very, very slimy, sticky foam-like substance that the eggs get laid into, which the male fertilizes. And then the eggs go from egg to tadpole inside that little cocoon-like substance, which is very, very interesting. Then they fall into the water. It's very important that they build them above the water so that they can plop into water when the time is right. But it gives them protection against predation at an early age. And at the moment, there are more foam nest frog nests around than I think I've ever seen. They are everywhere. Every patch of water. You actually know there's water there because of the foam nest frog nests. But some of the foam nest frogs are a little bit sort of too excitable, and they put the nest somewhere where the water dries up, and it's not ideal. So it's not actually that high. It's only about 1.5 meters. That's probably about below my head height. I've seen some incredibly high ones. They're all over the place, and the foam nest or grey tree frog is a very well adapted frog, not just in its nest or foam ability, but they're able to live in areas where other frogs struggle to live. They are able to go completely white and absorb moisture from their belly, so they can survive out here when conditions get very, very harsh and very, very dry. So they're a very common frog. Often find them in our homes and our houses, living up against the windowsills, going completely dormant for a period of time as their body goes white to reflect the light. It keeps them nice and cool, I suppose. And if there's any moisture, any dew, they can crawl onto it and absorb it through the belly. In general, most of frogs' skin is absorbent. They can absorb everything through their skin. But the grey tree frog has eliminated that ability on the rest of their body and just moved it to the stomach area, which is quite interesting. But it gives them an adaptation to live in areas that other frogs would definitely struggle to do so. So I'm going to play a little call. Well, it's me, everybody, and I've got Bless on the camera with me now. So we're going to send you over to Tswalu Kalahari with DJ, who's got a nice Wildebeest.
The Wildebeest is saying good afternoon. He's had a real torrid time. He was under the tree about 5 meters away, and the flies were bothering him. The louse flies were biting, and he was doing a bit of a hop, skip, and a jump to try and get rid of them. And all he's done is moved 5-10 meters onto another shady spot, and he's quite relaxed there now. So this will be a territorial wildebeest bull. And he's not too far from the lodge, so he's quite relaxed with our presence because he sees vehicles quite regularly. So he's giving us a real nice show. So, oh no, now he's not looking at us anymore. I was going to say, when you look at them, you can tell the males from the females by looking at the ears relative to the horns, but he's not showing us that. With males, the horns tend to be longer and wider out than their ears, whereas a female, often their ears are longer than their horns are when they sort of turn on that 90-degree curve. He looks like he's interested in something to the north, but Henry is asking, why does he have stripes? So they often refer to them as brindled gnu, and that's just in his coat is darker patches and lighter patches. It is just in all wildebeest. It's just nice that he's actually standing still, that you can actually see it for so long. So it's one of his markings, and very often stripes or some kind of a marking there is to break up the solid side profile of an animal. If the wildebeest then is moving through grass, now you put yourself in a lion's situation where they're seeing in sort of black and white. If that wildebeest is in the grass that I was walking in earlier, for example, the sour grass, and you've got all of those stripes and you've also got the stripes of the grass, it actually breaks up the outline of the solid shape of a wildebeest. So it probably does aid them in some form of camouflage, and very often lions are looking for movement, so if something stands dead still like he is, they may not even see him. And yeah, he's also, you can see this nice little like beard off his neck, hanging off his neck and off his chin. But if you, on a wildebeest, if you had to run your hand down his neck and along his body, each one of those darker areas is almost raised. It's almost like a thicker, coarser type of hair, which is, it's quite different. Well, maybe he's going to lie down. He's thinking about it. No? Oh, he's just warming up the other side, maybe. Change around for the angle of the sun. Looks like, oh, he's defecating. So then what we may see after that defecation is scraping with his feet, which is he using the preorbitals on his face, the pedal glands in his feet to mark scent. And that's sometimes what the territorial bulls do. He didn't do anything there, so maybe it's quite strange that he didn't mark or do anything with that. But maybe that the droppings are a marking on their own. And there he goes. We're going to send you to Phinda, who's got a giraffe for you.
Good afternoon and welcome to Phinda. We have found a beautiful scene here. There are quite a few giraffe in an open area, and they seem to just be taking it easy, enjoying the sunshine as well. There's a bit of a breeze blowing, but you can still hear a lot of the frogs in the area. There's been a lot of rain here. I keep saying this whenever I'm on WildEarth. You can see that one giraffe that was in shot has just been lying down. So I am Angus, and behind the camera today we have Simon, and it's a pleasure to have you all with us today, live on safari. It's quite interesting. If you see those two giraffe, I'm sure we'll be able to get them in the shot now. The smaller one has just walked up to what seems to be quite a dark-coloured female. It's possible that they could even be mother and daughter, but it's quite difficult to tell with giraffe. They don't necessarily spend their whole lives with their family. And the smaller one is quite big now. And you'll also notice that a few of them were looking at us and they were interested in our vehicle. Daniela, who's only 12 years old, has asked, how long is a giraffe's tongue? I can't tell you exactly how long it is, but I do know that it's quite long. So if I were to guess, I'd say it's about longer than 30 centimeters. I'll try and find out for you and get back to you soon. At the moment, though, none of them are using their tongues. That one looks like it's got an itchy knee. See how it's scratching itself on that bush? There's also an oxpecker on its bum. You often find ticks behind the tail and under the legs of animals, especially like giraffe. The skin there seems to be a little bit softer. So it's an obvious place to find ticks because it's just a bit easier for them to get through the skin and
get into the blood of the animal that they're on, their host. Looks like with that giraffe that was resting, I mentioned it earlier, it probably feels comfortable out in the open like this because there's a whole lot of other giraffes standing guard and being able to see quite a long distance away. Ian has asked an interesting question. He's asked if giraffe ever get hiccups. Ian, I've never seen that for myself. I'd say it's possible, but I don't know. See, it's still scratching itself. And that one far away in the distance. Also looks like a female. And it's likely that these giraffe will be hanging around here in the hot part of the day. They look like they might just be resting. They could be ruminating. So what they do is they'll re-chew a lot of the food that they have eaten throughout the day. So often in the hottest parts of the day they'll rest and then chew the food that's already been partially digested in their stomachs. I can't see any of them chewing at the moment, but it's very possible that they would have been doing it and they will be doing it over the next few moments or so. And you can see in the background there's a lot of tall trees. There's lots of trees in the acacia family which are extremely nutritious. So it's a type of tree that giraffe will spend a lot of their time eating. And the reason why giraffes have to travel so far, obviously they don't really have competition for a food source because they can reach trees and leaves that no other animal can reach or no other browser. The next biggest browser you'll find would probably be a kudu in this area. And they are a lot taller than what a kudu would be. So the reason I mentioned they have to travel quite a bit for eating, even though they have a lot of competition, is because acacias release tannins and it makes their leaves very, very bitter. So once an acacia has released those tannins, they'll have to move on and try feed elsewhere. But we're going to carry on moving now. We're going to try find some cheetah, and we're going to send you to Tessa with her white lions.
Welcome back to andBeyond Ngala, where I have a very, very sleepy white lion here. And he is, you can see his tail moving, he is actually kind of awake because every now and then the flies are bothering him. He's got so many open wounds at the moment. And so that is definitely something that is attracting these flies. And you can see he's in a very small patch of shade. He's moved a little bit into the shade now. But very soon he's going to have to move again because the sun is starting to touch him already. So he's got quite a lot of those round wounds like that one that you can see. Quite a lot of them all over his body, and that's exactly what the flies are going for because it's nice and moist on those wounds. It's still wet. But you can see he hasn't eaten. He's looking fairly thin. And he's got quite a lot of fresh scarring as well as open wounds. You can see how easily he stands out in this green grass, even when he's in the shade. But just that patch on his right-hand side, that little patch that's in the sun, you can see is much brighter. Especially when you're looking at it like that, at a distance. So when I initially found him this morning, he actually didn't even look like he was breathing that much. I had a bit of a mini panic, I should say. And then luckily we saw that he was flicking his ears. And at the moment where he is, he's fairly well protected. There's some bush around that he can hide in. The grass is fairly long. The only unfortunate thing is, well, it's actually a pro and a con at the moment, a positive and negative. There is a little pan system close by, maybe 20, 30 meters from him, which means he's got access to water, but it also means other animals will be coming into the same area looking for water. And so as much as it's good for him, it might also be a disadvantage. I actually just heard some thunder in the distance. So I think he'll probably be here the rest of the afternoon, just following the shade from tree to tree. And hopefully we can catch him moving a little bit later on. But for now, we'll just enjoy him having his snooze.
It is fantastic seeing you all again. Those who haven't met me, my name is Dylan, in what is undoubtedly a very, very, very green Kalahari from what we were looking at a couple of months ago. We will be doing our very first fireside chat for WildEarth. So if you can join us on the 13th at about 7:30 after game drive, it would be an absolute pleasure. We'll see you there.
Sign up to become an explorer and join them by the fire straight after the sunset safari.
Riverbeds are a great way to find water and look for places where elephant have excavated hollows. You can then dig into the sand, and after a couple of feet you should find damp sand, which then can be squeezed out or siphoned off for water. And with water being one of our scarcest resources, it is a good idea to conserve water where and how you can.
My name is Ross and I'm a field guide at andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on WildEarth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
Look at this, the little one is up and about. Certainly hasn't had enough milk at this age. No amount of milk is enough. Oh, corky. Too sweet. Oh, look at this. That is stunning.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
Hi, I'm Mike Anderson, and I come to you live every day from Eco Training Pridelands Conservancy in South Africa. The wild animal I think is most underrated. I think buffaloes are the most underrated. They're so tenacious and ferocious, and also very, very protective of each other, which I find incredible. You know, sometimes people think of the big five, they just think of lions and leopards and other big animals, but I think buffaloes are pretty underrated.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
We just saw this old dagger boy here get out of my favourite little pan on the reserve, just south of Twin Dams. And he had been clearly having a little spa day, which is exactly what the lone dagger boys love. They're normally older bulls past their reproductive peak, so they're no longer really they're able to mate, but it won't be successful. They're not really fertile, and they're no longer interested in mating, to be honest. They're normally sore, they've normally got wounds, so submerging themselves in a water body is absolutely perfect. It's going to cool down the body, cool down the skin, and I'm sure it feels just wonderful. Let's see if we can get close to him. He was just right here. I'm going to drive very carefully because dagger boys do have a bit of a reputation for being grumpy, shall we say. I can see the bush moving. What is he doing to this poor tree? What are you doing, boy? Okay, I can see him. I'm just going to pull over to the side here. Oh, he's not a happy bunny, is he? He's a smelly bunny. Let's get a good look at that body. There's probably lots of wounds. He's urinating, that's lovely. Good to hear from you. You're asking when is their reproductive peak? Well, when you sort of use the word dagaboy, you would not use that word really for a younger bull. You are referring to the older bulls, and they pass their reproductive peak by about 10 years and above. So anything below that, once they become reproductively mature and sexually sort of mature, to about 10 years old, maybe 12 at the latest. You would not use the word dagaboy for a younger boy. Well, you must have had a very full bladder, sir. My goodness. Dagaboy is actually a Zulu word, and it just means mud. And it refers to their love for wallowing in the mud, which is exactly what he was doing, because his body probably is sore. His lifestyle has changed. No longer with the herd, no longer with the females, no longer really interested in the females. Probably got a skin disease, probably got battle wounds, and just a little bit achy, a little bit stiff, a little bit sore. And of course, being around water holes, especially that small little pan that we were in, he's got the water, he's got the mud, they're very water dependent, but he's also got the food. Normally the vegetation around water holes is very soft, very palatable, and it's easy for them to digest. So really, it's an ideal place to be. My goodness, I think that is the longest pee-pee I've ever seen. Well, we're finally finished. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't think we'll follow him. He does appear to be a bit skittish is not the right word, but not thrilled that the vehicle is here. I'll reverse so we get a better view of him, but I don't think I'm going to follow him up this road. He probably wants to come back to the mud wallow, to be honest. The dagaboys, they are renowned for being very temperamental. They are just really grumpy, and I know grumpy is a human word. So slightly, oh my goodness, he's still urinating. I don't really know how to explain that. Must have a huge bladder. I mean, they do drink a lot, up to 35 litres per day, so let's just go with that. But sometimes when you're in pain, I know I'm definitely suffering pain right now. My wisdom tooth. It's not out yet, but don't worry, it's coming out. And pain it's so unpleasant. Animals feel pain too, even fish. I would imagine insects. And it can make you grumpy. I definitely know that. And that's another reason that the older bulls here, the dagaboys, are slightly temperamental. And that's why you really don't want to get on the wrong side of a buffalo bull, like a dagaboy. Sometimes they'll be alone, or sometimes they'll be in small little groups, small little herds of other dagaboys. They can all be grumpy together. But they can be really, really dangerous, especially on foot. When you're doing bushwalks or when you're on foot, that's what you need to really watch out for. Now, everyone, we're still urinating. Okay, I am going to leave this bull. I think he wants to go back to the wallow and, well, wallow. And while I do that, we are going to send you guys down to Tswalu.
So we found this. It's known as a tumbleweed, or also a ground lily or a saw-eye lily. So I'm going to show you what it looks like in the book. It's a beautiful, beautiful pink lily. Morgan must just tell me if I must come closer. You good? Okay. So beautiful, beautiful. And saw-eye lily means that the locals would use it to make some kind of an eye remedy or eye ointment. But once those flowers have died off, then this is known as an umbel. This will break off and on the wind tumble, literally distributing the seeds as these areas open. This would have been where each one of the lilies were. As they open out, I can actually hear that there's some that there's not too many seeds left in this. As the wind tumbles it and it goes on the wind, just doing its thing, basically all those seeds get dropped along the way. So not quite the same tumbleweed as the States, but for us, known as the saw-eye lily. Quite pretty. What about a hat decorative? What do you think? Maybe. So we could work on it. It definitely won't do any shade. Maybe a little bit more alien-like, actually, but quite pretty. So that's an interesting method of seed dispersal. And there are one or two other plants in the Kalahari Desert that do the same type of thing, is have that umbel that then tumbles, the umbel that tumbles and drops its seeds along the way. That's a nice find. Not too many seeds left in that. And then you get... Tom is saying it looks like it could be a nice chandelier. I totally see that. With nowadays, with those energy efficient light bulbs and things like that, I think you're onto a winner there. We've actually got an interesting artist that does some things with Tswalu. His name is Nick Bladen, and he has a special technique where he actually takes a plant and sets it in like a dental type of a plaster, so all sorts of thing, and then he makes it into a bronze. And we get sometimes these kinds of shapes that are actually solid bronze, but they're mimicking or they're coming from exact specimens from nature. But I do like your chandelier idea. I've got another grass here, which is like a giant 3-orn. This is, I'll probably bring it a little bit closer, but this one you can just imagine. You can see here, if I start pulling out there, you can see there's actually 3 orns. And then there's a sharp point on the end there, and that will attach itself to the animal's fur and get taken and distributed that way. But this particular one is not a friend of socks, that's for sure. There's a couple. This and the carrot seed are not sock friendly. And even in the washing machine, they don't necessarily come out. So you do often have to wear ankle protectors or wear a pair of pants so that you don't land up with these nasty seeds in your socks. And the sour grass, as we said the other day, just makes you nice and sticky. It has like a sticky gland all over it that when you walk through it, it gets quite itchy. Rosalind is asking which animal eats a tumbleweed. As far as the flowers go, maybe there's the odd 1 or 2 insects that might eat the flowers, but the actual bulb underneath the ground, it's mostly porcupine that can deal with something that's partially poisonous or toxic. So I would probably say the porcupine will be one of the ones that will eat the tumbleweed. What else I can hear? Lots of bees and insects around, but nothing else here. There's another little, I don't even know, oh, it's another type of a creeper, but it's got a beautiful, it's not, if I pull it up, it's got these awesome little, I don't know if that's the flower that hasn't opened yet. Yeah, there, it's going to start opening. So also just pretty. There's creepers all over the place. So in the winter season, most of this area turns into just sort of an open sand area, and then as soon as we've had some rains, all of these creepers just cover all over the place. We're going to send you across to Lauren. She's apparently found something famous.
Another barbet percher. But we couldn't drive past it. It's just far too beautiful. Look at the close-ups that Lance is getting us. You can see how intricate these organisms actually are. They're not simple. Their wings are so delicately designed, their facial structure, the 6 legs with the feet. They're not just simple insects, not by a long shot. Now, I spoke earlier about being small, so to continue that sort of line of thought, it's not a bad thing at all. They can survive in microhabitats. If you think about a whole colony of, let's say, aphids, they can survive on a single plant, tiny plant, a whole colony. Now, they wouldn't be able, yes, came back. They wouldn't be able, oh, did it catch something? It's caught something. It's got a fly in its mouth. No, it's not a fly. It just caught an insect. Wow, that's so cool. Another hunt. Right here. Let's just hold this frame because it could come back. They're renowned for doing that, coming back to the exact same branch. Or not, of course. Where did you go, Dragonfly? Beach Girl, I'm actually just going to pull up my book for you, so you will hear the pages, because I think we have some very good diagrams of their legs. Their legs are strong, they're jointed, they're segmented, and they've got little feet, if you like, that can cling on. The body weight is very, very light, but their legs are not as sort of simple as one would think. So Lance, I'm just going to get you to sort of zoom in on this book that I'm holding. I'm going to show you all what their legs look like. And I'm just going to grab my porky pointer. I can't do anything out with the porky pointer. So if we can just zoom in here, there's actually 2 things that I want to show you. So the legs are segmented, which is exactly a key feature of the phylum Arthropoda. You can see there's different segments. There's also hairs. And if you look at the feet, they're designed for clinging on, for perching. They can grab a hold of a branch, just like we can grab hold of, well, branches. I mean, we're not really great at our monkey abilities, but that's how they don't blow away in the wind. And then if you look here, Lance, this is the facial structure. Got a really, really nice comparison here of the version that we see, the sort of colour. It's the huge compound eyes. Look how they almost take up the whole head. They meet in the middle. And then this diagram is actually showing you what each part is. There's the mandibles. That's what he was just chewing his prey with. And I'm saying he because it was actually a male. And you can see all the other parts that I don't even fully understand well of this insect's face. So that's what I mean by them being complex, by being intricate and extremely detailed. They're not simple, not by a long shot. Let's see if we can have a look and see if our little barbet percher is back. This is a good bush. This is a good... Oh, I think yes. Yes, this is great news. Aha, I see him. So yes, I can't really remember what I was saying, but being small, you can sort of take over a very small microhabitat. You can also find refuge in small spaces, maybe under leaf litter or even between grains of sand, actually, if you're really, really small. Few resources are needed for your development. Especially small insects will have smaller or shorter, should I say, generation times. It's very, very fast to move from generation to generation, and therefore they have rapid rates of evolution, which is why we've seen such a big difference in size from millions of years ago until now. Although millions of years sounds like a long time, sometimes species will evolve slightly and you won't be able to see it. but the size difference in dragonflies, for example, has been drastic. You've also got to remember that they're ectotherms. They rely on the sun. They rely on the ambient temperatures and external sources of heat to regulate their own body temperature. So having a small body means that you have a really large surface area to volume ratio, and that allows you to quickly absorb heat from your environment in order to warm up and power those muscles and get ready for flying. And of course, being small, your muscular action is extremely efficient. If you look at an ant, for example, an ant can actually lift 50 times its own body weight. That is just absolutely mind-blowing. I can only lift like 10 kilograms at the gym. And an ant can lift 50 times its own body weight. I just want to quickly pinpoint, we know this is a male because he's red. We know the barbed percher is red. But if you just look at the end of the body, you can actually see his genitalia and his claspers. So even if you didn't know it was a male, you would be able to tell immediately just by looking at his genitalia. Wow, you are so beautiful. Okay, I'm going to enjoy my dragonfly just a little bit longer, and we're going to send you guys across to another live location.
Welcome back to Phinda. And while we've been searching for our cheetah this afternoon, we saw this elephant from quite a long way away, as you can see. But there's no way that we're going to be able to get a little bit closer to it, because as we go further down there, this area is actually a floodplain. And I mentioned the rain in the last time I was with all of you, and it's extremely wet down there. And I presume he is just feeding on this lovely green grass that's been growing there. The soil here is extremely nutritious. It's very dark color. And there'll be plenty of food for him out there. I presume it's a male. Haven't actually looked really closely yet. But with elephants, when we do see one on its own, it is usually a male, because when they get to the age of about 25 or 30 years old, they'll usually leave the big herds that they grow up in to live a more solitary life, only linking up with the herds when they do want to try and mate with one of the females. LJ has asked a very good question. He's asked if elephants eat more grass or tree branches. So at certain times of the year it depends. So here in Phinda, they'll eat more grass in the summer season, in the wet season when there's a lot of fresh green grass. And then in the winter they seem to eat more leaves and fruit. And it also depends on where you are in the world, I suppose. So in some places like Namibia, they'll also try and eat more grass in the wet season, but there will be less available things like shrubs and trees to feed on. So in my opinion, grasses will probably be a little bit more nutritious in the wet season, that is, and that would probably be why they tend to feed on them more, just because it'll be less effort for them. It's also a lot less strain on their teeth. They have a limited amount of teeth, so they get 6 pairs throughout their life, and they slowly wear away. Utale, elephants aren't necessarily black or grey. They are like a grey-brown colour naturally, but they take up the colour of the soils of the areas they are in, and that's because they enjoy mud wallowing and throwing mud over themselves. So I mentioned here how the soil is very nutritious and dark, and that's why this elephant looks quite dark in my opinion. You can see all that water off to his right. And even in front of him, it looks like there's a little puddle. So in the wet season here, this area sometimes does fill up with water. And you can imagine these... And that's why you'd find a lot of animals like wildebeest and zebra here. So talking about grazers, Steve has some Impala and we're going to send you over to him.
Well, welcome back everybody. We have found, well, a mixed feeder in fact, just like the elephant. Many Impalas who got blessed on camera this afternoon, so making him earn his stripes. Doing a bit of freelance training. Wonderful to spend time with Impalas everywhere. We always think about them, many people do, and drive past them, but I actually love spending time with them. They're generally busy doing something. Small little family groups. A couple of young males in there, but it's mainly females with their offspring. Haven't seen an adult male yet. But with the vegetation as long and as dense as it is, it's nice to hang out with these herbivores because they're very reliable indicators of predators. But right now they're just moving through feeding. They're on their way to Tamboti Dam, I would say, for a drink or somewhere near and about. There's quite a lot of water around, so there's no real necessity for these animals to go directly to major water holes. It depends on what time of season or type of year. Get them in the 50s to 80s now. Straight after lambing, they can be in that number, and then certain times of the year they can be smaller. And also depends where you go. I was in Botswana a few years ago, and the herds were plus 200. So when conditions are quite nice like this, the herds can actually split up because there's food in abundance. And just like that, a large herd of animals is gone. And we're going to carry on moving down the road here. So, yeah, anywhere between 40 and 50, but seasonality can obviously change that. Bearing in mind, when there's 50, 25 of them will maybe have a baby, so suddenly you've got 75. So the herds change and dwindle and shift. But I've seen in Botswana huge herds of Impala in the dry season. So when the vegetation is not as abundant, they tend to sort of come together. But then here, I tend to see them in smaller groups in winter. So it's really area specific as well. Condition specific. We have a lot of Impala hanging out together on quarantine at night, but might not necessarily be the same herd. They don't share any sort of social bonds, to be fair. They just know that by hanging out in a group, they've got a better chance of surviving. Okay, well, we've come back onto Djuma. We're going to head through towards the west and go and have a little look at Simbambili. Haven't been to Simbambili in the longest time, and it is very sad to say, everybody, Sebastian's last drive with us. And he's never been to Simbambili. So we're just going to go do a quick little dazzle over there. But a slow little bumble through Djuma on the way. Because although it has been very hot, it's slowly starting to cool down. But it's still pretty warm. We might pick up on some buffalo along the way.
Imagine having your own secluded African bush home where you and your friends can enjoy the ultimate safari experience. If you sign up to be a WildEarth explorer, this could become a reality. Timbeta House is located in the heart of Djuma Private Game Reserve, the home of WildEarth. You could win a chance to stay at this intimate wilderness retreat, offering you the rare and highly sought-after privilege of your own home in the bush. The prize includes 3 nights for 6 people and includes daily game drives, a chance to see the WildEarth camp, and have dinner with one of our guides. Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer before the end of February 2021, and you could be heading to Djuma, the place that we call home. Available dates are limited, so terms and conditions apply.
So in 1998, we had this idea to go and put a live web camera on a waterhole somewhere in the Sabi sands next to the Kruger National Park. And I approached just about every single landowner and everybody thought I was completely crazy until I met Yuri and Pippa Moorman.
We thought it was definitely a fun idea and a worthwhile thing to experiment.
And it immediately became a runaway success. And it gave people all around the world the opportunity to watch a little piece of Africa day and night. Back in 1998, it was the very early stages of the internet. And all we were able to do was to get a 30-second refreshing JPEG out of that camera. But over time, what we began to do is focus more and more on trying to develop this concept of giving people the opportunity to go on safari.
Even though we live just 500 meters up this hill, we still put the camera on to see what's happening.
Absolutely, we watch it ourselves.
My name is Taylor McCurdy and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on WildEarth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the live safari page and submit your questions below the live.
Hello everybody, welcome back. We're still on the move, bumbling through the middle. It's nice to keep moving because although it is cooling down, it is still very hot. So the breeze through and under our arms and through our faces and hair, and you know what I mean, is rather pleasant. As soon as we stop, it's very, very thick and hot. Shady bits are nice. So I don't know if you remember this morning I said there's another cyclone warning off of the Mozambique coast. Leroy, I don't really know how to answer that question. It's all about interest, really. If you're interested in an animal, it's easy to learn their behavior. If you're not interested, it will be difficult to learn. For example, some people don't like spiders, so they'll never learn anything about them. Some people don't like snakes, they'll never learn anything about them, but their behaviors are fascinating. So I guarantee you, everyone out there who has a favorite animal, they know exactly how that animal operates. So it really depends on what's easy, what's hard. I think it's got a lot to do with interest. I like to learn all animals' behavior. Constantly learning. I think the hardest animals' behavior to learn actually is human beings, because we're very sneaky. There's a lot of falsities in human beings, there's lots of sneakiness. Although elephants portray quite a lot of human traits, they're not sneaky. They're not deceitful. Very hard to learn deceitful behavior, isn't it? Because there's so many different people we meet along the way. All elephants show you a certain behavior and you can learn very quickly exactly what's going on with them. Animals' behavior doesn't lie. It's quite obvious if you just read the signs. Signs are very subtle sometimes. Sometimes you get those big sort of aggressive behaviors that animals would put forward. Long before that happened, there was very subtle signs that animals were communicating with you that you didn't see. So animals that are very hardly seen or difficult to see or to find, they're probably very difficult to learn their behaviors. But DJ is hard on the search for some cheetah, but I know she knows pretty much everything there is about to know about them.
So the update for the cheetah is this block is actually enormous. It's 3 dunes across in a westerly direction, so we haven't really had too much luck at this stage in finding her, because the first half of the block that we tried to navigate through was predominantly sour grass, which was quite a challenge for us. Yeah, in the Kalahari, we're about to face our next challenge, which is getting up and over this dune. So it's a little bit tricky, especially when they're that steep. We do have to take them with a little bit of speed. So to give me a moment or two. A pale chanting goshawk just took off, but we're going to try and keep our momentum up to get up and over the dunes, but pretty much there is, yeah, so it dots on, here we go, we've got to go up. Oh, and there goes the goshawk. Oh, this one we might make it, and oh, you can do it, and there we go, we made it over. Whew. I didn't want to test my driving skills there, but look at that view. We've literally just popped over the dune and look at that view. That's absolutely stunning. So, yeah, the challenge is the cheetah is in there somewhere. In this big block. We're coming back around, and yeah, we're hoping to see maybe she walks across the road in front of us. But that's our challenge that we face today. Other than the dune itself. So remember that if you've got any questions, you can hashtag WildEarth and ask us at FC in the question. But in the meantime, we're going to send you across to Lauren that's got something interesting to show you.
A competitor for my favorite insects is in fact the termites. Now before Lance zooms in, I want to show you something. This is a mound that I actually showed you all live. Sorry, that's my game drive radio. And it was quite a big mound. They were building it. It was getting much bigger. And I think it must be an elephant here that has came by and broke it off, which was slightly sad. But Lance, let's get a little bit closer to the activity in here. There's lots of workers. I don't see any soldiers, but they will be somewhere. Workers make up about 95% of the colony anyway. And I'm going to move out of the way, and you're going to be able to see in great detail the mightiest termites. I have to say, it wasn't until I really started studying termites that I became as obsessed with them as I am. They are phenomenal insects that I believe we can really, really learn a lot from. The backbone of the ecosystem out here, you don't think it, but they really, really are. And most people think termite pest termites, especially in the States where they have a huge problem with termites eating woods. They do, but these social insects need a lot more credit, especially in an environment like what we have out here. You can actually call them little green machines. They are hands down nature's best recyclers. You'll see that everywhere. You'll see that written everywhere. They are nature's best recyclers. They burrow tirelessly. They don't stop into the soil. And this aerates the soil, believe it or not. Soil needs to be aerated. And this allows the rainwater to trickle in, so you're already getting moisture into the soil. And the moisture, as well as the aeration, allows the nutrients to mix. And that's the key factor. All the nutrients from the surface to below the surface are getting the chance to mix, and this is called the nutrient cycle. And this allows the ground and the soil below us to stay extremely healthy and fertile. And this is all because of the termites. They also feed on cellulose. We talk about cellulose a lot, that very tough material that humans can't break down. They feed on cellulose, which is found in all sorts of plant material. And believe it or not, their sticky excretions help hold the soil together, if you like, and can assist in preventing soil erosion. Erosion is a huge problem, whether it's erosion out here in an environment like this, or whether it's beach erosion in an environment like Maldives. It's a huge problem. But the excretions of a termite actually assists in holding that soil together. Now, different species of termites do feed in different ways. I think that was Kate. You're asking, how do they dig really deep? I'm not really sure what you mean by that. They live underground. So in this mound, which is now broken, there's a nest. So they're born underground. They hatch from the egg underground. And that's their home. It's not actually the mound. The mound that we can see, the visible part that we can see, is more like their city, shall we call it. That's where all their functions happen. That's where their daily life happens. But the nest is underneath the mound, which we will never really get the chance to see unless, of course, we go digging and we break it apart, which is not what we're going to do. And then that's where they're born. So they're born underground. I think that's what you mean. They're not going to hatch on the surface and then dig their way under. It's actually the complete opposite. So they're born underground, and then they've got to build their termite mound upwards. And they'll all be given a different role in the caste system, chosen by the Queen, accompanied by environmental factors. She will use pheromones to ensure everyone knows what role they have to play, and the bulk of the colony will be made up by workers. Small percentage soldiers, sorry, my speech is terrible today, I do apologise. And the rest will be the fertile royalty, those alates that will grow on to leave the mound, start their own colony, and they will be the future kings and queens. So the eggs hatch underground, and they're tended to and looked after by the workers. The queen lays the eggs. The king stays by her side doing, well, not very much, to be fair. It's the workers that move the eggs, tend to the eggs, aerate the eggs, care for the eggs. It's the workers that feed everyone as well. The queen needs to be fed. She's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and she ain't going to stop. The workers need to be fed, and of course the soldiers need to be fed. They've evolved to have these huge strange body parts that's not going to allow for the easy chewing of food. The mandibles, like I mentioned earlier when we were talking about dragonflies, they have evolved for self-defense, so they're not able to chew with them. Okay, so I'm going to let these termites be, and I believe Steve has got some cats for you all.
Hello everybody. Well, what an afternoon. We, after you left us, we picked up on some very fresh tracks of lions. Tswalu Pride has emerged behind the dam cam. For those of you who are manning the dam cams today, the lions are all behind you at the moment. But be prepared for them to come in front of the dam cam at some point. They are looking at some Impala that are walking down away from the dam now. Looked promising a moment ago. But for now, the wind, you see, is picked up. That wind I was talking about. And where the lions were, I'm not 100% sure. They were probably trying to pick up on the buffalo from yesterday, because we had buffalo tracks on Djuma yesterday. And they were actually found last night. I think Lauren had them. And when we went before, we had lion tracks heading west around Jacana. And then we didn't really follow up on them because we were in a low signal area. So the hunt seems to be dwindling at the moment, so I'm going to reverse back so that we can actually show you some of these lions. We were trying to position ourselves in a way that we'd be able to get a hunt. Really nice to have open areas to view hunting like this. There's still a lot of intention on the lioness's face. Lots of intention. She almost looks like she's salivating, but I think that's just the grass. Sarah, before a couple of weeks ago, not often, probably a handful of times that I know of, might be more than that, but they used to come in and out again. But I think the Umkuhumas have seemed to have pushed a little bit more south, and so that sort of range changes, the territory and that seasonal movement changes. And well, they came to this waterhole the other day and got 3 wildebeest, so I think they're thinking to themselves, I like that store, let's go back, shall we? Okay, so it looks like the hunt has dwindled for now, so let's go reposition so we can actually show you these lions looking so beautiful in the light. And there is an evoker male with them as well. Evoker male with them as well, so I think it's dark mane. But we just had a very brief look at him before. Coming down, and then we quickly zoom to follow, and he's the first one we found. Just looking at us. I didn't get a proper look at him, I just kept driving, because you always know the male lion's at the back, the rest of the pride is in front. Go find ourselves a nice shady spot, that they all spread over here. Typical, we found them and they started spreading out, so we got into position for a hunt. Right in front of Bateleur Lodge. So if you were a guest right now, you could be sitting on your deck here watching lions moving through. No guest in camp at the moment. We're just going to position so we're not so in the sun. Fortunately, that's going to be tricky. There we go. Now, it looks like Blondie, to be honest. He's at the back over here, the big male, at my 12 o'clock. You should see him there. There might even be 2, but I can't actually tell at the moment with the way he's sitting. At my 12 o'clock, bless. There we go, at the back, the big one. No, here we go. There he is. And it's hard to tell at the moment. They've all grown so much, the 3 evokers. I saw a video from Simbili the other night. One of my friends, Brett Hawley's guests, sent a video of 2 male lions fighting, and one had a very prominent limp in his front right leg. And I'm pretty sure that was dark mane. He was getting a little bit of a beat down by a male I didn't recognize. And we can go over to these lions over here then. The whole Talamati pride. Okay, well, we're going to stay with the Telematis as the wind is gusting and blowing in their face. I'll count it to see if they're all here. In the meantime, we'll send you over to Phinda and beyond Phinda with a bird.
Welcome back, and we have found one of the more special birds in South Africa. So with Phinda being located up here in Zululand, we are quite close to the Indian Ocean, where in southern Africa, it's probably one of the more southerly regions that we get blue-cheeked bee-eaters. And that's what we have here. You can see it perched over this beautiful grassland, which is where you usually find blue-cheeked bee-eaters. They like to spend their times in open savanna and grasslands. If you look closely, you'll see just above and below its eye, it's got two beautiful iridescent blue streaks, where I presume it gets its name from. It's an interesting bird because it travels long distances to get you. It arrives in about October and it'll leave most likely at the end of this month, and it'll go back up to Eastern Europe and Western Asia, where it will breed, and it'll spend the summer months there, and before winter arrives there, it'll come back down south to southern African regions again. I'm not sure if it'll come to the exact same spot, but it is interesting that they travel such long distances. And with these moist, grassy areas that they spend a lot of their time in, they prefer eating bees and dragonflies and other insects. They actually catch them while they're flying. And if you notice its long bill, that actually helps it, like bees, which obviously have quite a horrible sting on them. So that long bill helps them keep the bee far away from their bodies, so it's not able to sting them. So when they do catch one, they'll then rub it up against a perch that they'll be standing on once they've caught it, until the sting is gone, and then they'll swallow it. You can see it's got a beautiful yellow throat, which then turns to a more browner color as you go further down, and a lovely olive green color on the top of its back. Kerry said that this is a new bird for her. Although I have seen it here on Phinda a few times, it's one of the less common birds that we get here on the reserve. Because it's such a specialized bird, you don't find it all over the reserve. So you'll have to look in certain parts of the reserve to see them. And obviously they're only here for a few months of the year, so I'm also quite excited to have come across it. It looks like for now it's just resting. It'll take quite a lot of energy to fly around all the time trying to catch insects. And you can see that it's probably just waiting for possibly something to fly by until it sees something, and then it might go off and chase it. Lauren, I presume it's just found a little bit of a gap somewhere. It does look like it isn't very comfortable, but being quite a small animal, and it doesn't weigh a lot either, so it's probably just found a gap between some of the thorns. Lauren asked, how is it standing on that? It's amazing though that they're able to actually land there. Imagine coming in from flying, and then you have to be able to be, wow, some beautiful color under their wing too, which we got to see for a moment there. So I was just saying how amazing it is for it to be able to move from flying to, oh, wonderful. Now that it's flown away, we're going to send you off to Steve, who has some lions.
Welcome back, everybody, where the Termite Pride is all here in the open, and they're seeing something that I'm not. A couple of the lionesses are very low to the ground, doing some stalking movements. There's a lot of interest amongst them. I'm almost certain this is Darkmane, the big male. Now he got up and moved. And look at the size of him. He is a big boy. Just going to guide someone else into the sighting. Yeah, you're most welcome to join. Just come down the middle road from Quarantine towards the dam, and you should see us all on the left-hand side in the shade.
Thank you, Steve.
Isn't he a magnificent fellow? Now, he walked up and there was a little bit of head rubbing and with some of the youngsters there, which was very cool to see. He's definitely the father of the cubs at this pride. And he's been with this pride for ages. We know the Vokers, everybody. 3 males have been in the area for just under 3 years now. And all 3 of them were sort of all over the place between the prides and Darkmane after sustaining a injury right here at this dam itself after hunting a buffalo. The whole pride of the Nkuhumas were here. He was then also mating with the other females of the Nkuhumas that have got cubs now. But he injured his right front foot very, very badly. He's never recovered from it, but he's still able to move and still able to do his thing. But since then, since after that mating period, he's pretty much been with the Telematis since. And up until the other day when we had the Telematis on Djuma for about a week, we didn't see him. I think he was off looking for his brothers. I think he went and had a bit of a boys' weekend with the bros. And he's now come back to do his duties. Or maybe he realizes, bless you, maybe he realizes it's, bless you, better off being 1 male lion in a pride than 3. Because these ladies, although they are competitive, they don't compete nearly as much as big males do. Kirsty, I've never seen them specifically using the tracks of the prey. They will smell animals. They definitely track their family down by smelling the ground for the tracks they've left behind. But I wouldn't say that they physically follow tracks. They follow scent. And they might use the same pathways that animals use, but that's just because it's easy. Just like we drive on roads, animals drive or walk on open areas. They're very visual. And they pick up on a lot of scent. Hearing is also important as well, but right now they've been moving because the wind is coming directly towards them from the watering hole. That lone buffalo is somewhere down the drag. I'm not sure where Lauren had him, but he was here yesterday and then he was just down the road this morning, so I'm not sure where he is this afternoon, but that is exactly the individual that a pride of lions like this is looking for. And when they've got a big male with them, although it's a big male buffalo, big male like that, just look at the size of him. He brings on a lot of power, a lot of strength, and it's weight, really. When it comes to buffalo hunting, especially with big bulls, they want to pull them down. They want to get their haunches on the ground as soon as possible because it takes away the danger element. A buffalo that's got all 4 legs on the ground is a powerhouse, and they keep turning and hitting with those very powerful, sharp horns. And I know it seems quite sad for our poor buffalo, but I've no doubt that he's experienced a lion pride before. And as I said before, the buffalo that was killed a while ago, 2 years ago now, this male here got a very bad injury because of it. So it's not all easy. It's not all easy for these animals. Lions get injured. Buffalo get injured and killed. Lions get killed as well. Kenny, well, the average Impala, say a big Impala, let's just work on 50 kilograms. Now, each of these lions probably can eat about 35 to 40 kilograms in a sitting. So they'll each need an Impala for them to be happy. Obviously, they're never happy. They're only happy when they kill large prey. So bearing in mind, a lot of the female Impala are smaller. The babies are even smaller still. And there's definitely some movement. These lionesses definitely starting to see something I can't quite make out. But they're looking at each other's behavior. We always talk about how do lions know what they're doing. They look at each other. We look at them. You can clearly see the black tips of the ears. When they're pointing back, you kind of know exactly what direction, exactly pinpoint the eyes of the lion are looking. And with that in mind, they can then pinpoint strategy and know exactly. It's kind of like in the army, in the military, when they've got these hand signals, to that way, to that way, to that way. Lions do that on their own by just looking at the individual's movement. See, this one now is looking at how her sister's moving. She's judging her line, and then she will work it on as well. Now, we haven't seen what they're looking at. I've clearly seen something. There were Impala we saw before when we first started that had moved off. There might be a Ngala. There might be some of those kuru we saw yesterday hiding in the thickets. I think I'm going to turn here before something happens. Let me just turn so we can face back that way, because I'm pretty sure if something happens, we don't want to have to turn too much then. And while the rest are doing their hunting, big male lion lying on his back, and you can just see him in frame there, lying on his back. He's not going to do much until it all breaks down. Okay, so I'm just going to stop here, maybe back slightly, so we can shoot straight forward there, and then at least I'll be able to use my binoculars now. You can show this beautiful belly of this male. He's not concerned. He knows he's close enough to catch up with the food if it's needed. If the lionesses do manage to corner a buffalo, he'll eventually grudgingly catch up with them and be like, okay, fine, I'll put my weight in and help you pull it down. But for now, he doesn't have to do much. He just has to wait. As with the youngsters at the back here as well. So the young males there, they learn, okay, this is what Dad does. This is what I have to aspire to. Okay, so let's go back off of them now. Directly in front, between the three lionesses that are sort of making movements. That one over there.
It is fantastic seeing you all again. Those who haven't met me, my name is Dylan, in what is undoubtedly a very, very, very green Kalahari from what we were looking at a couple of months ago. We will be doing our very first fireside chat for WildEarth. So if you can join us on the 13th at about 7:30 after game drive, it would be an absolute pleasure. We'll see you there.
Sign up to become an explorer and join them by the fire straight after the sunset safari.
The reason why we see that wildebeest by himself is because he's a male, or a bull, as we typically would call him. And what he does is that he marks and defends an area. Essentially, he is looking for the ultimate piece of land, or prime property. Needs to have good grazing, needs to have a water source close by. And not too far away from here, there's a sickle bush thicket that would provide just enough shelter from the wind and the rain.
My name is Lauren, and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me, and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
The croc is still holding another one there. It's holding from the hindquarters. I would really want the wildebeest cross. Is it trying? The croc is holding the tail. It's holding tight. Oh no. Goodness me. Lucky, lucky wildebeest. You have another day to live.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
There's a grounding earthiness to this place that we feel in our ancestors. It's a place where, believe it or not, we evolved as a human species, and anyone who's come to Africa will understand that, the connectivity that the continent has to the person and to people's souls. is next level.
I'm thoroughly looking forward to taking you on your next adventure when we explore all the small and big things.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda. We haven't gone far from where we were with you and that blue-cheeked bee-eater, and we have got another view of this beautiful elephant bull. So he's in the same place as he was earlier when we saw him. He's just moved a tiny bit. You can imagine there's a lot of food around here, so he doesn't have to move very far. And he's probably been here for a good part of the day, eating this grass. So elephants are big animals, and I mentioned how they like to eat this nutritious grass in the wetter months of the year, but they still have to eat a lot of food to be able to sustain those huge bodies of theirs. And this looks like abundance for him right now. It's not very difficult for him to get enough food for the day. He just has to stand in one place and carry on eating, basically. You can see how he's using his trunk to wrap it around that long grass that he's standing in. Looks like he's feeling around. There we go. And then he'll bring it up into his mouth. It's amazing that they are able to use their trunk to be able to feel and grab, and it's got a lot of different nerves and muscles in it, and obviously a very important part of an elephant's lifestyle. I have heard stories of elephants though that have had part of the end of their trunks actually cut off by having been caught in snares, for example, and they're still able to adapt and survive, which just shows how tough and hardy they are. You can see if you look at his ears, they are flapping quite often, but you'll be able to see that they're quite tattered and shredded on the ends. And I mentioned earlier how when they do get a bit older is when they'll move off eventually on their own. So it's likely that he's at least 30 years old. It's difficult to tell from here because he's quite a distance away. But being 30 years old, it's a substantial amount of time living and moving around in the bush. And that'd be a reason why his ears are so tattered like that from moving through thick bushes and thorns. Eventually they'd scratch him and just wear away at the tips of his ears. I mentioned he's flapping them, and that'll just help him cool down. He's been standing in the sun, and that just helps move air over the back of them where the skin on an elephant's body is the thinnest. And they'll actually pump their warm blood through those dense network of capillaries behind its ear. And through flapping it, then they'll use the movement of the air over the ears to cool down the blood. Jane, I presume that they do, because it'll be wounds over the ears that actually cause that to happen. Quite beautiful here. You'll see there's a lot of barn swallows flying around over the grass in front of him and behind him, and they'll also just be they'll catch insects on the wing, which means while they're flying, and they'll basically just be waiting for little insects to hop up above the grass, which they'll grab. These swallows, just like the blue-cheeked bee-eater we saw earlier, don't breed here in southern Africa, but they head up to Europe where they'll breed in the European summer. Raphael, yes, elephants do lie down, but not very often. So I've seen them lie down in mud wallows before, and sometimes during the night to rest, but usually the older elephants don't lie down. They're obviously very heavy as they get older, and I'm not sure how true this is, but I've heard that they can actually suffocate themselves if they do lie down and for too long when they're very, very big, because of all that weight crushing on their ribs. I think it's quite difficult to prove that exactly, but they do lie down, not for very long periods. You can see how much he's moving his tail as well, and that tail reaches almost all the way down to the ground. And the reason why he'd be moving it is just to try and get rid of flies that would be landing all over his body now. Such a special privilege to be able to see elephants in the wild, and in a setting like this makes it even more special. In these big wide open areas, you really get to get a bit of a perspective of how big they are. This elephant is a good few hundred meters away from us, and it's still quite a prominent piece of the landscape that I'm looking at now. We're looking east at the moment, and you can see there's beautiful puffy storm clouds brewing up above the Indian Ocean, which is only about 30 kilometers away from Phinda. Mac and cheese. Elephants are often away from their herds. I mentioned a little bit earlier, the last time we saw him, that males do usually move away from their herds when they get older, and that's why we are probably seeing him here off on his own. I can see that his tusks are not huge, but they are relatively big, and just by the size of his head, looks like he's at that age where he's a bull that would live the rest of his life, or most of his life, on his own at the moment. He would have grown up in a herd, and he's moved off now. He will meet up with them sporadically from time to time. So we're going to keep on moving. Hopefully we can try and find some cheetah in this open area. But we're going to send you off to Steve, who has some lights.
Open area with cats in it. I wonder what that looks like. Here we have the Termite Pride in the open. And you see how long a lot of the grass is over here. How easily a pride of lion can disappear. And that's why they're able to kill 3 wildebeest so easily the other day. Very, very easily. Come to these ones over here in the sunshine. Obviously we are joined by other vehicles. Here's one of the old girls here. And we're just chatting with one of the landowners there that said, oh, it's such an easy pride to identify because they've got the one with the purple eye. And as we all know, the Djuma Pride has got purple eye with the exact same blind eye. It's very interesting. hear the wind. You can see it blowing in the grass. These conditions are very suitable for animals to hunt. And when you are a pride this size, with a tag-along big male lion, then that is the camp just behind everybody with the low-profile fence. Then you know you need lots of eating. Oaktree, I think I said dark mane. Dark mane is the biggest of the three brothers. He's the one who has been with them for quite some time. At least a year and a half, I would say. It was August, a year and a half ago, that he injured himself. And he's pretty much, since he mated with Chela, into September, October of that year, been with this pride. Not that I saw him all the time. I always remember people in the north calling them in, the Talamati pride with one avoca. We'd always spend time with the two brothers would always be here. But everything's gone quiet once again. Spurts of energy followed by cat naps. Okay, well, an animal that I think lions would really struggle to catch is the famous Springbok.
So there's one of these four bachelors there, the one that one there. He's also got an umbel on his head. It's actually a creeper, but maybe he's taking my chandelier / headdress to the next level. And he was busy horning the bush, and he landed up picking his head up, and then he's doing it again, and then he landed up with vegetation on his head. So don't worry, buddy, I know what that feels like. So they'll have a scent gland on their face, and then rubbing that on the bushes, but at the same time, that's also like a little sort of a posturing. He's just displaying, and he doesn't necessarily have another springbok to take his frustrations out on, so sometimes they just do it on the bushes. And just keeping themselves nice and meticulously clean. Good to go. He's nice and clean now. So, Henry's asking the question, how high can they pronk? So pronking, when we talk about pronking, it means stiffening all four legs and then sort of bouncing up and down. And I've seen springbok pronk, probably if I had to sort of put it in line with the vehicle, easily at about this height, if they're under super stress and they want to jump really high. And it's really awesome. It's like lots of popcorn. I call it like bouncing popcorn, if they want to pronk. So there's another type of behavior that's similar to pronking, but they call it stotting, which we see more typically in Impala, is when they go in like a rocking horse motion, so sort of two front legs, two back legs, and they bounce. That's known as stotting, whereas stiffened forelegs up and down, what the springbok do tend to do, is known as pronking. We see them do it, sometimes they do it just because they can in the early morning, and sometimes they also do it just after some rain. And if they get a fright, or if they're displaying to a predator to say, well, look how fit I am, you're not necessarily going to easily be able to catch me. So that's just literally a little bachelor group of 4 Springbok there. They're also in a very nice open clearing, so if that cheetah, for example, happened to come in this direction, it would be very difficult for her to approach them and catch them now, because they'd get her visual easily in this nice open clearing, which is why the Springbok do tend to typically like to live in these open clearings, as they have very good visibility. But at night, that does make them vulnerable, and some cheetah do hunt at night. Some of them will use the moon and move at night, and then they are vulnerable that way. Laura Moore is commenting that they have such handsome markings. Absolutely, they're beautiful. Sort of like a little racing stripe on the side, and that's also known as counter shading, when they're darker one color on the top and lighter one color on the bottom. With Springbok living in the more arid environments, it definitely helps reflect heat away from the vital organs and help keep their temperature down, and also definitely help them with their sort of thermoregulation. Because they're definitely not camouflaged when they're out on a green grassy plain like they are at the moment. But at a long distance, often they're almost in that sort of mirage, that sort of haze that you get on the horizon. Springbok are actually very difficult to see. If it's the red soils and you've got that mirage on the horizon and Springbok far away, then they actually almost disappear into that. So there they're showing you that they both browse as well as graze. So that means that they are mixed feeders. Those little tails are working overtime there, getting rid of all the flies. So for them, the advantage of being 4 bachelors together is sort of a safety in numbers thing. Daniela is asking how you can identify a Springbok's gender. So both male and female have got horns, but the male's horns tend to be much thicker at the base, and then they curve right inwards, and the females tend to have a lot thinner horns. These are all 4 males, but there are some young males in there where the horns are actually still pointing forwards, as opposed to sort of in that question mark shape. And then sometimes, if you can see on the belly, it's a bit difficult here, but you see a little sort of like a bump, which is the penis sheath, and then also between the legs. So they're just moving along, they're just heading south at the moment. So they won't necessarily need to drink water every single day. They're getting enough moisture from the food sources that they're eating. And in the morning, sometimes there's also the dew on the grasses. So by eating the grasses, they are getting additional moisture from that as well. And sometimes if they've been lying down overnight and they've got that moisture or the dew on their skin, they'll also then groom themselves and then get some of the moisture from there. Evan, age 9, is asking the question, how old can Springbok get? Probably about 9, 10 years old. they're relatively small antelope. So even your larger antelope like kudu, maybe at maximum would be about 14. So Springbok around about 9, 10. So just a little bit older than you are. Just you can see the beautiful cloud build up again, so we are anticipating potential rain again in some of the sections of the reserve later on this evening. So we're going to send you now, Lauren has a nest to show you.
We've just came to check on our Bateleur, who's still sitting in the nest, this exact same nest. Now what I want to see, of course, is a chick. We see juvenile Bateleurs around, but I want to see a newly hatched chick. Looks absolutely nothing like the adult, and I think it would be so lovely to follow it. But so far, I only see the adult. I imagine this is a female. There's high level of investment in maternal and paternal care, but generally speaking, the female spends more time on the nest. I'm going to guess this is a female. If she stands up, we'll be able to see, of course. But I've never seen her feeding or bending down or any sort of movement that would suggest there's a chick inside. Now, as I mentioned the other day, the incubation period is 55 days. So that's almost 2 months. That's quite a long time. So she could still just be incubating one little egg. But the males do incubate too, so I'm probably wrong in assuming that this is a female. It actually might not be the female. I don't see any movement. I'm going to keep checking, because I just think it would be so, so lovely to see that little creamy head pop up. But it actually takes 6 weeks if it's building the nest from scratch. And they don't always do that. They can reuse a nest for anywhere between 3 to 5 years, similar to the Wahlbergs, if you like. But if they're building the nest from scratch, it's mainly built by the male, and it takes about 6 weeks, which is a really long time. They're obviously doing it with their beak alone. And they're heavy birds. I mean, a Bateleur will weigh about over 2 kilograms, and therefore it's got to support the weight of the adults, 2 adults sitting on it, and an egg, and a chick, who are all moving. They're not exactly statue still, and therefore it's got to be very, very robust. The structure's got to be very, very robust and hold the body weight of all of them. And that's probably why it takes so long to build. Okay, I'm slowly going to make my way to the hyena den, but we're going to send you across to Ngala with their stock and Lioness.
Welcome back to andBeyond Ngala, everybody. I have just driven into a very interesting scene. There is one lioness. I'm not sure which pride she's from. And you can see by the way she's standing, she's busy stalking some impalas at the moment. So I'm trying to be very still and very quiet. And I'm watching her edge forward just inch by inch. Have a look at how focused she is. She has not taken her eyes off them, and you can see how carefully she's walking. So she is actually behind a bush for the impalas at the moment. But look how flat she is. This is unbelievable. She's actually just seen another impala. It's the male right at the back of the herd. Just to her right. That's why she's laid down. She doesn't want to blow her cover. There she's starting to leopard crawl through the grass. So none of the impalas have seen her yet. They're just off to the left. There is the male that she saw. And luckily he is behind quite a bit of cover, which means she's got the opportunity to walk closer. There she's up and walking again now. As he started moving away, she's taking that chance to edge closer behind the bushes. She's literally going one tiny step at a time. Vincent, the success rate of lions hunting alone is usually actually about the same as them hunting in a pride, maybe a tiny bit less, and that would be at around 50 to 60% success rate. I think a lot of the time people think that lions only hunt big things in prides, but actually a majority of the meals that the lions here at andBeyond and Ngala eat are things like single impalas, and so we don't really see it because they finish it so quickly. But at the way that she's going now, at the pace that she's going, she has a decent chance because there is a lot of cover and the grass is so long. You can see how careful she's being. She's calculating every move and making sure that she's watching all of the impalas, not just the male, because if anybody spots her, it will blow her cover. But even just the way that she's standing, you can see how much power she has. She is solid muscle. She's not the biggest lioness I've ever seen. She might still be a little bit young, although she does have some scarring. So she's completely fixated on those impalas. And they're quite close to that tall marilla you can see on the left-hand side there. They're kind of behind it, spread throughout those bushes. And as soon as one of them notices her, there'd be a very distinct alarm call. And so at the moment, you can see it's still very peaceful. Not even the birds are alarm calling. But how well does she blend in that scenery? LT, she would ideally need to be maybe between 5 and 15 to 20 meters away, so pretty close. Because lions are quite a bit heavier and thicker set than things like leopards and cheetahs and wild dogs. They're a lot slower, which means she needs to be closer to catch them and give them that element of surprise. If they see her from a distance, they will quite easily outrun her. So she has to get really, really close in order to catch one. She's perfectly downwind of them at the moment. You can just see the tips of the grass are actually bending over backwards towards me or towards the camera. And she's downwind of them, which means the wind is blowing from them to her, and so they can't smell her. She's got perfect cover at the moment. She's downwind, so the chances of them spotting her are very low. Also, the sun has started setting, which means she's not in direct sunlight, and so she blends in a lot better. If the sun was out, she would have had to wait a while because it reflects gold off of her coat and makes her easier to spot. So those impalas are all through those bushes there at the back, busy feeding. You can see one or two of them. That impala's actually spotted some elephants, which are behind me, so there's a lot going on here at the moment. There's actually a whole herd of elephants moving through, and the elephants are also completely unaware of the lioness. And she is dead still, probably because she can see that one impala that is looking up and being alert. So I'd be interested to know if there are actually more lions around here, or if it's just her on her own. Because this area, the tracks that I was following on the road are of quite a few different members of a pride, and so I'm thinking she is part of a pride that's in the area. Maybe she's just split off. But you can actually see there are elephants through the back there that are walking through. And it's a whole herd with tiny babies. They would kick up a massive fuss if they could smell this lioness and knew that she was close because of the calves. But you can see the light is dropping so, so beautifully, and it's a perfect chance for her right now. And she is still poised in that same position behind that bush. And I don't want to move the vehicle. I don't want to create any attention towards this area because she is quite close to me. I don't want the impalas looking over here because I start the vehicle or anything like that. I want to be as still as possible to make sure that it's as natural as possible. You can actually barely see her now on the slide. And she's so still that if you drove past, you'd almost think she's a termite mound. So that's one of the most important things to look at with a lion's body language is their ears. And at the moment she's got them half up. She is listening for the sounds around her. But as soon as she starts moving forward, she flattens them backwards completely so that they don't stick out against the shape of her head. And that can be really important when you're trying to read any animal's body language. At the moment, she looks like she's settling down before she moves forward again. Have a look at how well camouflaged she is now. Those impalas have no idea. They might even start coming closer. She's positioned herself very well. There's a pan system off to her right, which they might come towards. So I'm definitely going to stay here and see what happens as soon as she starts moving again. Then hopefully we'll see her in action.
Hi, I'm Sue. I'm from South Africa and I'm the incredibly lucky winner of the Tswalu competition. Tswalu has so much to offer, but we're really looking forward to the game viewing options, as going out with a personal guide who has so much knowledge will just be exceptional. Motsi Lodge looks absolutely amazing and we're so looking forward to spending time there. It really is out of this world. I only registered as an explorer towards the end of January. So when the email arrived stating that I was the winner, it took me totally by surprise. I'd just like to thank WildEarth and Tswalu for this most incredible prize. It really is a dream come true.
WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
Our bodies are made up of about 60% water, which means that in a very short space of time, you can dehydrate completely. A relatively efficient way of collecting water early in the morning is to take an absorbent material like a sock and to walk through the grass, absorbing the condensed dewdrops on the grass. Once the material is saturated, you can then squeeze it out into a container, or you can suck it out directly into your mouth.
My name is Steve, and one of my favorite things at WildEarth is getting questions from you. The type of questions that I really like are those ones that really help us to unpack and understand and really integrate the ecological knowledge and fully appreciate the importance that animals such as these Cape buffalo bring to the ecosystem. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, you're going to have to register on the website. But once registered, just head on over to the live safari page and enter your question under the live feed. Hello, Mama. Just checking us out, everybody. There's no aggression here. Very relaxed. A herd of elephants moving around your car like that. It's truly, truly magical.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
Welcome back, everybody. Our lions have been a little bit running around playing with each other for a moment. A bit of biting and scratching. So, interesting time, and they start getting playful. They might get up, start hunting, but reports of that male buffalo, he's all the way down at Twin Dams itself now. Don't know if the telemarketers have been that far south. I think they have, actually. The wind is coming from that direction. Or from the east, in fact. It's one of the old girls. And the grooming starts, followed by the yawning. Followed by the stretching, which I think has happened already because they've walked. I don't even know how far. We certainly didn't see them on our way in. We went out the direction that they came in, so they must have crossed in, but then there's not that many vehicles around at the moment, and we went south this morning, so they could have actually been quite close. It's one of the benefits of having vehicles moving. It's going to be a bit of a head scratch here in a minute, or a head rub. And maybe not. She decided to move slightly. So, she's the one who's grooming a moment ago. General direction is the south and east. A little bit muddy here. One of my favorite times of day. We were going to do a nice sunset for you this evening, everybody, but once again the cats got in the way. It's all right. We'll take it. There's the dam cam, everybody, middle of shot. Voertel dam. You can hear a Jacobin cuckoo. Ah, so the Valence cuckoo. Now have a look at the intention. She's walking through the open, but her sister can't help herself. She knows her sister's going to jump her, so she's just going to lay down right there. Anyway, we're going to send you down the road to Lauren, who's found the hyenas.
We made it to the den. And of course, Mummy and Tima is here. A little cub's head popped out. Don't worry, I think we'll get a few. But nobody else is here. It's all very quiet at the den, most likely because it's been an extremely hot day. Just calling the cub. I love how they do that. The cub only responds with his mom until a certain age, of course, and then, well, the mom struggled to get them back in the den. And Tima, why are you always so sleepy? Are you smiling or yawning? Oh, hello, I see you. Hello. Goodness, I remember when Mkwazi and Shimbulu were this size, and then Braveheart, and now this little one. We're going to tuck ourselves right under Mom's belly, I think. And I hope if we just sit here for long enough, all the other cubs will start to wake up. I haven't seen Pumela and Gingarika since they've had their names. Or Braveheart, actually. So I may as well give you all a reminder. Please get on to the vote for Junebug. I know which one's my favourite, but I won't say. We have Novella, which means adore in English. Yimisela, which means determined. And the one that I'm most definitely not going to be able to pronounce with my swollen mouth. Shisleko. That's the best I can do today. And it means giggles. So you have a choice. And we will be announcing on Friday. And sunset drives. You've got plenty of time to think about it for Junebug. Not this little one. This little one's a little bit too young. I wish I knew which den Tima chose as her natal den. It wasn't any of the Philemon's ones for sure, because I check every day. I don't know which den she used. But we knew you were pregnant. Mm-hmm. She can't keep her eyes open. So unfortunately we don't have IR on this vehicle. So once it gets too dark, we'll have to leave, but we will stay as long as we can. And hopefully lots of other spotty heads will pop up. I know I mention this every day, but I still haven't seen Hart or Corky. Seen Ribbon, seen in Tema, obviously, and June. But no corks or heart. Okay, we're going to sit here as long as we can, but I believe Tess has had a stroke of luck and found some more lions.
Welcome back to andBeyond Ngala. So that lioness unfortunately was chased off by a hyena, and as I followed her, she started contact calling. And here, just on the other side of the thicket, are the 14 members of the Birmingham Breakaway Pride. With 7 sub-adult males, it looks like 2 older females, and a good 5 young lionesses as well. And literally all around my vehicle at the moment, there are just lions everywhere that are starting to get active. They're playing and they're yawning. And in fact, I've got 2 lions literally just to my left. Have a look at that. They're so close that they're actually behind the bars of my vehicle. And they actually came over to us once we had stopped, which is so incredible. But you can see they've heard something. Those elephants are behind us there. And what an amazing way to find this pride from one lioness stalking. Absolutely beautiful. And this is very close to where I saw them the other day, so I think they're starting to expand their territory. There's an elephant coming in on the left, and it's definitely smelling them. It's currently half hiding behind a bush. Have a look at that. You can just see its ear sticking out. There we go. You can see the movement, and there's the tail. So many sounds, birds alarm calling, wildebeest calling, impalas. That elephant is literally about 20 meters away from these lions. Hammond, a lion's roar is incredibly loud. I don't know the amount of decibels you would measure it at, but on a cold night or a clear night, you could actually hear it as far as 15 kilometers away, which is unbelievable. So it is incredibly loud. When they're sitting this close to the vehicle and one of them starts roaring, the small pieces on the vehicle actually start vibrating. You can actually feel it going through your body. It's unbelievable. So we've got a few of them starting to wake up now, starting to play. And kind of moving around a bit. And they're actually so spread out that it's tough to get a head count consistently because they keep moving. She's going to the bathroom. So I'm going to stay here a while longer and see what happens. I've got the elephants coming in behind me, so I'm definitely going to keep watching this to see what happens. I'm going to send you over to andBeyond Phinda with some stunning scenery in the meantime.
Welcome back. We are live at Phinda, and we've got a beautiful sunset scene. So on our way back towards home, here at Phinda, we stumbled across a mother hippo, and it looks like she has a really young calf, which is there. It just popped up now. So at this age, it looks like that calf is really small. So it looks like she's probably broken away from the pod that she'll usually live with to have her little one, and then she'll stay here for a few days before she goes back to the rest of her family. such a pleasure to see a little hippo at this age. You just have to keep watching though, because it only seems to lift its head up. There it is again. Only for a few seconds and it's gone under. Oh. It is tiny. And the reason it'll be popping up every now and then will be to breathe, where it'll go back under the water where it probably feels a little bit safer. You can see the mother is staying really close to the youngster. And she's keeping an eye on us at all times. At this age, obviously that little hippo is very vulnerable. Greg, I actually don't know if they can swim straight away from birth, but what I do know about hippos is they aren't really strong swimmers at all. So they usually stay in water where they can walk upon and reach the surface. And when you do see them, they usually are in water that they are able to stand up and be able to breathe from. So I presume of ability to be able to move around underwater, but I doubt it's a very strong swimmer. So it's likely that mother is, well, she is, you can see her just lift herself up now. She's standing in shallow water at the moment. And then what they do when they need to get underwater, they'll just kind of lie down underneath the water, so just their heads are sticking up. That little calf will actually be suckling underneath the water. So we're just going to sit here and listen to the beautiful sounds of the weavers and the frogs, and hopefully get a better view of this little one again.
Well, welcome to Impalas on the other side. There's not going to be any concern, I don't think, this afternoon. They're very far away in comparison for what these lions need to achieve. Still looking at them though, going, food. Do you see what I mean when I talk about the intention, everybody? All of them are looking at the exact same place. It's very obvious by the coloration behind the ears. Although they're not showing enormous amounts of intention at the moment, the body language changes when they do. So I'm sure we've all seen. And hopefully we'll get them to do that this afternoon. There's some intention behind me. I'm going to maybe move the car. Do you see anything, Seb?
No.
Oh, they might go to quarantine. Sorry about that. Just come back to me here. Just going to reverse back a little bit. Don't want to do a big loop because there are some seep lines out in the open. And we've been stuck more than enough times the last couple of weeks. And they are heading up towards quarantine. It's kind of anticipated. I spoke about. Now the wind is coming from behind them. They know there's food up there. Maybe they saw something. Maybe they can hear the hoof falls. head moves from side to side. They're trying to listen. You can see the wind direction. We have the lions all the time. Doesn't matter which pride I've seen. They come onto Djuma, they go straight through quarantine because the amount of smells of animals that must be emanating from that area, because a lot of them spend the night, the Wildebeest, the Impala. And I was just saying, this morning we found Wildebeest tracks, then found that male Wildebeest. That's right up the end of this road, just on the corner of quarantine. So hopefully it isn't his time. But he's a splendid old fellow. Right, so the wind definitely benefits the predator because it messes with the noises. These animals are very good at seeing in the darkness. Obviously, if it's very windy and there's light, the impalas can see. If they can't see in the darkness, then it benefits the lions and the leopards, especially when there's more than one of them. Okay, let me reposition. We're going to go to infrared shortly. Just going to reposition, try to get maybe on the other side of these lions. Find out what they might be seeing up over here. They're lying pretty much where they attacked that plastic pipe that time. So they know this area a lot better than they did last time we were here. I'm going to stop there for now. We'll probably reposition again shortly. But can you see the intention on the bodies? The angle is off to the left. They've heard something in that direction. The wind is actually coming straight across them now. The shift coming straight from left to right. You see her lifting her nose there. Lifting her nose to the breeze. Who knows what it is that they can be smelling. But I would love to be able to smell like a lion. I don't know though if I would like to be able to smell like a hyena.
Maybe they're smelling you, Steve. Maybe they recognize the scent of the wolf. The hyenas actually smell very pleasant today. We keep getting brief visuals of the cub, but we now know the cub is very brave and can walk past the entrance. No doubt about that. But I think Steve was just talking about predators and prey. And in an ecosystem, it's actually fascinating. And there's a concept in biology, and it's named after a chess piece that Alice actually meets in Alice Through the Looking Glass. And Alice is perpetually running without getting very far. And that's because the landscape is moving with her. So she's moving, but the landscape's also moving. And this concept is called the Red Queen, and it's really, really interesting. Oh, quickly over to Ngala.
Welcome back to andBeyond Ngala. So I've got the whole of this pride walking straight towards the vehicle. They looked like they wanted to hunt some impalas, but unfortunately with all the movement of the lions, the impalas saw them and they've started moving off. So now it looks like the pride is just coming this way to move over and maybe get comfortable a bit closer to the impalas until they relax again. I've actually got one lioness that's lying just to the right of my vehicle. And this lioness is actually still stalking. No. So there's a very, very old lioness in this pride that's looking incredibly thin. And I think she's somewhere at the back. Following very slowly, but this is definitely one of the older lionesses. You can see that face and that positioning, she means business. However, it seems like The other lions have not caught on to that yet, and they're all still moving quite quickly. She's actually going to walk right in front of my vehicle here. She's absolutely beautiful. She's one of the bigger lionesses. And just by her size, it almost seems like she might be part of the Birmingham Pride. So I definitely think this is Birmingham Breakaway Pride. I've got all of the lions coming past now. And I've actually got 3 behind my vehicle at the moment, lying in the road. So here's the very old lioness coming in. You can see she's moving slowly. She's quite thin. And she's probably fairly close to the end. So I've got the lions right behind me here. Some of the younger males are still having a look. This one is right behind me having a look at us with my lack of door. And this is that big lioness. That's one of the older ones as well. So I've actually got quite a few of the sub-adults right here in front of me. I've actually got to bend out of the shot for you. Isn't she stunning? Here she comes past me. Hello, girl. So you can see she is still quite young. She might even be the one that was stalking earlier. She's not so sure. She is still fairly young. I'd say 2.5 years old. Look at her eyes. Absolutely beautiful yellow. And she's now sitting and thinking. Looking back towards the impalas. It's quite an incredible feeling having 14 lions literally lying on all sides of my vehicle right now. You can hear the impalas calling in the background. It sounds a bit like a sneeze. A lot of frogs calling at the moment as well. So at the moment it seems like they are still a bit hungry and they are still interested in the impalas. So it's definitely worth me staying here to watch what happens. There's still 2 more lions coming from my left-hand side. So I think very soon I'm going to be completely surrounded, which is such a beautiful feeling. I'm definitely enjoying this tonight.
It is fantastic seeing you all again. Those who haven't met me, my name is Dylan, in what is undoubtedly a very, very, very green Kalahari from what we were looking at a couple of months ago. We will be doing our very first fireside chat for WildEarth. So if you can join us on the 13th at about 7:30 after game drive, it would be an absolute pleasure. We'll see you there.
Sign up to become an explorer and join them by the fire straight after the sunset safari.
Oh, my dear, I do find you most attractive when you're covered in bird lice. Oh, Charles, I love it when you peck at my head and clean the bird lice off me. Let me say hello to Barry here. Hello, Barry. I'm just going to examine you for some bird lice. Charles, I don't know if I'm comfortable with that. Oh, all right. I shall look for bird lice on myself then.
Hi, my name is Tristan Dix, and I am a guide here at Djuma Private Game Reserve for WildEarth. We love connecting you to the African bush, and we always look forward to all of your questions. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, you'll need to register on the website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit a question below the live feed. Catch up with me on WildEarth.
Something very, very interesting. I didn't plan this, but this is a scene rarely seen. This is what we call a journey of giraffe. So beautiful.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
Africa is very special, and when you come down here, even when you're watching through our camera, the landscapes that change from desert to bushveld to up in the Masai Mara where there's grassland. That means that the biodiversity changes as we move along Africa. And what I love most about connecting with you guys is the fact that I get to share these wonderful experiences with thousands of people.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
Not now. That is the irony of live TV. He was standing, and he has been standing for 5 minutes or more on the left-hand side of the road. We've been having a little bit of a standoff, and as soon as we go live, he's like, okay, well, that's my time to walk out of the shot. That is just so typical. Let me go a little bit closer. Maybe we'll get another view, or he might. There we go. I thought that if we started the car, he'd pop his head up over the bushes. So I don't want to chase him. I'm just going to approach slowly because he's been standing there for a while. There is another one that's already gone up and over the dunes, and I must say it was a very awkward climb up and over the dunes for the giraffe. It was sort of 2 front legs, trying to get 2 back legs, trying to get sort of momentum up the dune, and it looked very cumbersome and very clumsy. Yeah, he's definitely like, you shall not pass. He's definitely decided that we not going to go up this road. Oh, I can hear jackals calling in the background. Bit far, but nice little. They starting to say it's time to get up, announcing their territory. So all he did is he went to the tree for a snack, and now he's back to where he was standing earlier. They are just absolutely stunning animals. You can see sort of a bit of a weather system building up out in the east. So maybe some rain later on this evening. It's definitely some more thunder and lightning out to the south. We can hear it, but it's far enough away today. It always does amaze me that these such large creatures, such heavy creatures. I mean, you're looking at a creature weighing about 700 kilograms. So Anne is asking the question, what's the best interaction I've ever had with the giraffe? Well, it had to probably be many, 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 and I say that with lots of manys. When I first started my guiding career, I was walking and walked into a group of about 11 or 13, I can't remember, it was so long ago, but they'd always said to me, if you lie down and sort of kick your legs in the air, you'll gain interest from the giraffe and you sort of see what happens. And so they'd seen me because I was walking, and I thought, well, let me try this. And I did. I sort of lay down and kicked my legs in the air, and within about 15, 20 minutes, most of the giraffes started approaching, but it was like who was the bravest of the lot. You could see them. They'd look at each other, and the one would take 2 steps forward, and then 1 or 2 of the others would be braver, and they'd come a little bit further forward until eventually they got relatively close. They had a good look, and then they turned around and they walked away. And then I have had another encounter with a little calf, a giraffe calf, that I was trying to sneak up on, kind of do the same thing to see what would happen with a giraffe calf. The mistake I made was not really looking where the mother was. And the next second I just heard, and I looked up and this giraffe was relatively close and sort of looming over, looking at me, sort of squeezing its belly and blowing air out of its nose, telling me, hey, back off, go a little bit further away from my calf. So since my early days, I have learnt a lot more respect for giraffe, and I do leave them be, but they are absolutely awesome to experience on horseback. They allow you to get really, really close on horseback because they don't see you as a human. They just see the horse shape, and the smells are more animal-like. So they are awesome to go on horseback, which we can do here at Tswalu. And on walks. On walks, the trick with giraffe is not to approach them directly. You kind of go at a slight angle, but you cut that angle at sort of more than 45 degrees, and you do land up getting a lot closer, and they are often very interested in you. He's the most unmoved giraffe in ages. We're going to send you to Steve, who hopefully has his lions moving a bit more than this giraffe.
Welcome back, everybody. Well, something live, they all went. Hello, here we are. The wind has just returned. You can see the one with the injured eye there, can't you? We've just given them a bit of space because there's actually a scrub here in the road in front of me. That's what's got their attention. You just come back a little bit, Bless. You'll see the scrub here in the road. Keep coming. There he is. That's what got his attention. I don't think the scrub here has any idea that there are the largest carnivores on the African continent lined up there. But that's how in tune their ears are, everybody, the lions. They all moved at the exact same time that scrub hare shuffled out onto the road. So if you could hear a bunny moving around, you've got some good hearing. So we just gave them some space because we thought they might move up the road towards quarantine. That's one very brave scrub hare. He thinks now, he's like, just stand still. Bear in mind the lions that can see very well in dark might not see him very well if he doesn't move. The eyes are all closing. And he's going to take a moment. And when he does bolt, he's going to bolt. Jabu, there's not much of interest there, to be honest. The effort to move and catch that thing is a very hard thing to catch. And if they do catch it, it would be just a mouthful. Okay. You never know if the scrub hare doesn't know. Oh, look at that's an amazing stretch. He's just woken up. If he doesn't know the lions are there, he might find himself in a spot of bother. I don't think the lions are going to try. There's an enormous amount of effort for them to get up and move towards him. There's probably 7, maybe 8 meters, maybe 10. Let's say 10 meters between them. He's busy feeding. And a leopard would be all over that. A leopard, that's a nice little meal. For a lion, it would be just an hors d'oeuvre. Good call, Mr. Scrub Hare. Very good call coming this way. He has no idea. Bunny with a death wish. Yeah, you could say that. He's just woken up, you see. You saw that stretch it did. It was just waking up. Time to come out and eat some food. We see many of them around. I wonder how many of them are caught by lions, though. It'll be interesting to know that fact, because the only real knowledge we have of animal kills is physically seeing them or finding the remains, and there'll be nothing left. We often find scrub hares that have been killed because of the stomach that gets removed, or the belly, or the tails left behind. But I don't think a lion would even go so far to be so discerning. It would just, like one of those little skewered nibbles at the hors d'oeuvre table. There's no portioning of that, everybody. No portioning. Basically just swallow it whole. Well, we've got some very flat cats. They sure know how to take it easy, everybody, when there's not much going on. I think they hoped for an early meal this afternoon. It probably was just one of them. And they all followed. And then they got a bit dehydrated with that walk. It was quite hot after all. Of course, canine. Every animal gets a fright. Lions get chased by elephants. Lions get frights from other lions. Lion cubs get frights from all sorts of things. And believe it or not, in the daytime, lions are actually slightly afraid of humans. First time wild lions see a vehicle, they behave a little bit differently, as anybody would if you took a human being from the 1300s and you suddenly teleported him to this day and you drove a car past him. He would probably do more than just cover his eyes. There'd be some bodily functions that change. So things that aren't known are often frightening. I do fear the unknown, especially a loud petrol guzzling machine that makes a lot of noise. But right now nothing is frightening these lions at all. We're probably going to move up a little bit closer to get the IR light on for you, but we had anticipated them moving here. Now I'm worried if I start the car, we're going to chase the scrub hare into the waiting jaws of these felines. Wait for him to move a bit first, shall we? Hippo agrees with us on that. Feeding on the best little bits of grass. Bless you. You see how that eye shines back. That is the tapetum lucidum. Basically just a filament on the back of the eye that allows many animals to see at night. Allows them to sort of absorb the light. That's why when that lioness is looking at us, you can see her one eye is blind because it's damaged. It's damaged, it's not giving the tapetum lucidum reflection, which means she most likely has got absolutely no vision out of that eye. Okay, here we go. This is what we were waiting for. We are joined in the sighting by other vehicles, so you might see a spotlight at the back. That's how people conduct normal safaris. We are blessed to be able to do these and view these animals with the infrared. The scraphead just bolted past me. Okay, he gave me a little bit of a fright. He ended up being so close there. Oh. Hello, lion. Are you walking right past us? This is what we anticipated. This is what we anticipated. One. And the more are going to come. And they're going to head up onto quarantine. And they're going to go terrorize whatever animals happen to be lurking around in quarantine this evening. If that Wildebeest male who's finally returned back is indeed there, he's going to think again about his position on the landscape. Although male wildebeest are incredibly vigilant, everybody. It's not often you find them being caught by lions. They're constantly on the alert, on the aware side. That's why so many animals like to hang out with wildebeest, especially the bulls, territorial bulls. They're aware of everything that's going on in their territory. You can almost think of it as one of those hustlers on the local street corner. He sees everything that's going, sees everyone who comes and goes. There's no getting past him. Irish, isn't it? We are very blessed to be able to have views like this of a wild pride of lions. Don't get me wrong, everybody. There's nothing tame about these lions. They are as wild as they come. They are Kruger Park lions. But they've been habituated. So they're used to the vehicle. They don't see us as a threat. They don't see us as food. And so that's how we're able to allow them to walk right past us like this without any sort of negative behavior. I can't really explain it to you what it feels like to sit here and have them walking past, that you can hear the pads of the feet and you can hear the breathing. I'm going to allow you to listen to this next one as it comes past and see if you can hear the breathing. I think it was the young male that was breathing quite heavily there. This one's playing catch up. You're going to hear her breathing. You should. How splendid. And of course, last but not least is going to be Limpy, old man, dark mane. But I'm going to reposition so we can get up to quarantine while these lions start to make their move up there. Before Limpiness himself catches up. Oh, goodness. Okay, well, we're going to turn around, head up the hill, send you over to Tswalu Kalahari with DJ.
So we've driven a little bit further away from that giraffe that we had earlier, and we found an entire journey, also either a journey or a tower of giraffe. I can see necks and heads popping out the bushes. It's quite thick in some places, but there's at least 10 individuals here. And keep a lookout on the horizon in the background. We're seeing quite a lot of lightning strikes, so we might land up with some on live TV, but it looks like the camel thorn trees are getting a bit of a treatment at the moment. They're all getting pruned by the giraffe. They'll even eat the seed pods as well. So the seed pods is like a nice protein package. And they will eat those seed pods. But the seed pods are designed for that. They're designed almost to go through the giraffe system and potentially get deposited somewhere else when it comes out the other end. And then the seed can then germinate when conditions are ideal. So they choose whether they want to be in a group together or not. Tswalu does tend to have some of the large groups of males clustered together. Carla is asking the question, can we tell their age? It's very difficult with giraffe. Once they're sort of over a certain size, it's very difficult to age. And they only live till about 23. So you can, if you can compare them, some bulls to other bulls, you can see maybe by the size, the thickness of the ossicones. You could see almost that lump on the front of the head, how much of that is... how big it is or how large it is, and also sort of the general condition of the giraffe. If it's got lots of scars and it sort of walks with a bit of a limp and it's elderly, then you know it's one of the older, more dominant bulls. Amongst them, this looks like predominantly males, if I can see, but I can't see them all. Amongst them, they'll have their own sort of hierarchical ranking. So the ones that want to go up in dominance will have to challenge the more dominant bull above them. If they succeed in their fight, they then sort of go up sort of one rung in the ladder. And that sometimes, if you see how they interact with each other and you watch them for a long time, you'll be able to figure out their ages. Also, then will give you a good idea based on who's more dominant than anyone else. So the wind is definitely picking up. You can see the grass moving quite a lot. Carla is asking the question, can giraffe become aggressive towards predators? Absolutely. Giraffe have killed lion before. They will kick. They can kick forwards as well as backwards. So forwards with the front legs and then back with the back legs. And they have killed lion before. And actually, when I said they've killed giraffe before, they have also killed giraffe before. When bulls are fighting, it can get quite serious and they can kick and kill sort of a fighting opponent if it were that way. Let me see, what do you think, Morgan? Should I go back or forwards? Neither. Maybe we'll go back a little bit. There might be one coming into the open clearing. There's so many there, so we'll just go back a little bit and see if we can get one of the others into frame. You wouldn't believe... There we go, that's a bit better. So backwards was the good choice. So they're happy to come and go as they please, living in this little group. But here at Tswalu, they do tend to stay in larger groups. They're quite happy to keep each other company. And we've got both groups of just males, just females, or mixed groups, males and females. So some people also assume that giraffe are older if they're darker. That's not the case. But we're going to send you back to Steve. It sounds like he's got another update.
Welcome back, everybody. All of the lions are coming up. There's the dam cam light in the background there, I think. All the lions are looking interested. Graham. Lauren. So impalas are running. You saw the lions were. Are they going to catch anything? Oh. It's a very big lions, yeah. Oh, there's not much we can do. They're about to walk towards us. But the lions are very interested in a herd of impala that have run from these other large animals, but there might be some more residual around. See, they're all coming up. Look at the intention. See the body language. It's going into a sort of stalk semi-run. Now, that language would be very well interpreted from the back, from her sisters who can see in the pitch black. Now, I have no idea what she's looking at. Another line at the top there. You can see the one with the blind eyes at the back. There's still impalas there, exactly where they were before. It was a really large group. I don't know what the rest of the pride have done. They might be doing a big loop around. Okay, well, we're going to stay here and see what they get up to.
How insane is that animal?
This is out of this world. Fantastic. Good, Mama.
Wow, what a way to start off. Just such an incredible privilege to be out here. It just keeps on delivering.
There you go, there you go. Heart is pumping right now.
3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Look at this, everybody. We've got a live kill.
The croc is holding the tail. It's holding tight. Lucky wildebeest.
There's nowhere to go. This is a disaster in the making.
This is the first leucistic zebra I have ever seen in my life.
Oh, here comes a lion. Run, little guy. Go on.
Something that I have never seen before in my entire life that you are now watching live.
My heart is in my mouth, everybody.
Look at this. It's gonna make it. It's going, it's going.
This is just too magical. Hi, little guys. That's great, isn't it?
Has it just pretended to be dead? That is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Look at that. Scuba Steve has got a friend.
You've got a friend in me. It couldn't be a better morning. This is just too special.
Oh my goodness, we've got a turtle.
How epic is the fact that we're coming to you live from the Chobe River? It's the most incredible feeling to be here. This is live and we're in Rwanda. This is a very, very different adventure, charged with emotion.
Look at that little zebra about to be born. There's the head. Oh, you clever mare. Well done.
I did not think I would ever face my fears like this.
So Morgan and I are just watching nature do its final sort of display for the evening. There is massive amounts of lightning on the horizon, so literally in the next 2 minutes, I'm very certain we will see some of the lightning that's been happening in those clouds in the south. There we go. You can see a little bit of it. It is just absolutely stunning. So the very southern end of the Kalahari is going to get some rain shortly, and the Kalahari never complains about getting rain. They've had 6-7 years of drought. This is the first year that the drought is broken and we're actually getting above average rainfall. I mean, the reserve, certain sections of the reserve have had over 600 mils of rain when we only expect 250, and that's a good year. So it's just amazing. That's why it becomes challenging to find animals like cheetah, which is the challenge that we had today. And even the trackers at one stage said they actually cannot see the tracks anymore. There were just too many forbs and too many grasses in the way. So, yeah, you just have to keep sticking with us and amongst all the different properties, and we'll definitely continue to show you some more good things. So lightning, very random, but very often it's sort of up and down. Laura Moore is saying, gorgeous view. That's basically looking towards the south. So generally across the dunes down south, the mountains a little bit more to be on the screen, what would be on the left-hand side. But just a real show at the moment with all those lightning. So we're not hearing the thunder, so we know it is really, really far away from us at this point. We know we'll make it home and dry today. So what a way for the show to go out this evening. Well, thank you for joining us, and for those of you that would like to join us tomorrow morning, hopefully all of you, 6 o'clock Central African time. And thank you once again for joining us.